Welcome to the cultivation universe where everything abnormal is normal. And today's main character, Bai Xiaochun, is living proof. A young man who fears death more than the sky falling. A genius whose main talent is causing trouble. And also the only person who can make the entire sect want to beat him, protect him, and avoid him as much as possible. A will eternal, a cultivation story full of laughter. But beneath it is the emotional journey of a seemingly useless person who carries within him a will that can shake heaven and earth. If you want a story that's addictive from the first listen, humorous, touching, and extremely captivating, then this is the perfect choice. Now let's embark on a journey where just one thought is enough to shake eternity. Shaozi Feng Zuzi, Shai Feng Zuzi, and Wuming Feng Zuzi trembled violently, veins bulging on their foreheads. They all felt an indescribable suppression erupting from within them, robbing them of their blood sun identities. This robbery meant robbing them of their ability to control the cultivators of their respective mountains, instantly plunging them from their high positions to the status of ordinary cultivators. The grand elders of the three mountains were no exception. Song Junwan's face turned pale. She couldn't believe it. Bai Zikun was also a night burial cultivator. This fact had already shocked them, but now they were even more shocked than before, to an indescribable degree. Impossible! I am Shai Feng Zuzi. Even Blood Sun was suppressed, let alone ordinary cultivators. Divine Calculator, Gulai, Songqiu, Su Shaoshan, the entire bloodstream sect, anyone who cultivated using the blood ancestor's body were all suppressed by Bai Xiaochun. The entire battlefield, because of Bai Xiaochun's single hand, completely changed direction. All the bloodstream sect cultivators, including the Supreme Elder, Blood Soul, and the Ancestor, all changed color. In an instant, the bloodstream sect's momentum was greatly diminished. Their advantage completely vanished, and the minds of many disciples were on the verge of injury. The situation became chaotic. Someone cried out in fear, "Blood Lord!" This is the legendary Blood Lord's power. Oh my god, Night Burial, Bai Xiaochun. He has become the Blood Lord, Blood Demon. These names were uttered repeatedly. Everyone panicked, recalling their own current state, and everyone's faces turned pale. Blood Demon, I can't believe it's real. The Blood Lord has descended. Night Burial? He has obtained the Blood Lord's inheritance. How can we continue fighting like this? The cultivators of the bloodstream sect all turned to look. Bai Xiaochun. Bai Xiaochun stood in midair, his long hair fluttering in the wind. His figure was now incredibly massive. He alone had suppressed an entire sect. No one could ignore the existence of such a person anymore. Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath, turned his back to the spirit stream sect, and looked directly at the bloodstream sect. His voice was hoarse and not loud, but it echoed throughout the entire battlefield. Now, can you listen to me, bloodstream sect? If you intentionally want to destroy the spirit stream sect, then you'll have to step over my dead body. All the corpse refiners trembled, all bowing their heads, especially the undying bone, its eyes blazing with flames. It roared to the sky, flew out, and knelt before Bai Xiaochun. The green-haired zombie roared. All the green threads on its body burst forth and danced, causing the eyes of the surrounding zombies to change, turning around and shifting their attack target to the bloodstream sect. The countless demonic figures roared, turning sharply and baring their fangs at the bloodstream sect members. In an instant, not only were the bloodstream sect members suppressed, but their strength was also halved. The bloodstream sect's ancestors turned pale, looking at Bai Xiaochun with utter disbelief. He is the Blood Lord, the Ancestor, Wu Jizi, and the Song family's ancestor were all extremely perplexed. If they had known that Yizhang was the Blood Lord, this battle wouldn't have unfolded like this. For the Blood Lord, for the Blood Demon in this legend, the bloodstream sect was very contradictory. They wanted it to exist, but they also didn't want it to exist in the world. If the Blood Lord were just an ordinary disciple, they would imprison him, forcing him to only employ tactics that benefited the bloodstream sect. But unexpectedly, the Blood Lord turned out to be Bai Xiaochun. The Song family's ancestor was bitter and silent. The Water ancestor was startled. No one knew what he was thinking. Wu Jizi was silent, but a strange light flickered in his eyes. Xiang Yan's ancestor bowed his head. No one could see his expression. Song Junwon looked at Bai Xiaoqun bitterly, a tragic smile on her face. Her heart was riddled with holes like a beehive, feeling herself and Bai Xiaoqun growing further and further apart. She lowered her head. She wanted to avoid him, wanted to leave this place. She didn't want to see Bai Xiaoqun anymore. Seeing everyone's awkward silence, Song Junwon looked dejected, and Bai Xiaoqun felt a pang of sorrow, but he had no other choice. Let's not kill each other anymore. I can represent the Lingxi sect. Bai Xiaoqun whispered, thinking the battle was no longer so tense. But before he could finish his sentence, a tremor suddenly shook the direction of the Lingxi sect, a tremor foretelling the imminent eruption of the Luochen mountain range's grand formation. Bai Xiaoqun was stunned, turning sharply to look. He saw that in midair, the Lingxi sect's ancestors all had different expressions. The first ancestor's eyes were deep and profound. He too was shaken by what had just happened. He couldn't believe that Bai Xiaoqun was not only a blood son, but also the legendary Blood Lord. This identity was too important, suppressing and reversing the momentum of the Bloodzi sect. This was a once-in-a-thousand-years opportunity for the Lingxi sect. Seeing this opportunity, all 5 patriarchs of the Lingxi sect recognized it. Although they cared about Bai Xiaoqun, this matter concerned the fate of their sect. They would rather betray their conscience than compromise the sect's principles. The 5 exchanged glances, and the first patriarch smiled. Excellent, Bai Xiaoqun, you have rendered great service. From now on, you will be included in the line of succession and appointed as the young patriarch, Lingxi sect, full force. Attack, annihilate, Bloodzi sect. The first generation ancestor waved his hand, and the remaining 4 ancestors rushed towards the Bloodzi sect's ancestors. At the same time, the Luochen mountain range formation exploded with a resounding roar, dazzling light flashed, and the giant formation figures roared and charged out. The war beasts howling and rushing into battle. They were taking advantage of this heaven-sent opportunity to inflict heavy damage on the Bloodzi sect, a single action to secure their millennia-old foundation. The Bloodzi sect was terrified. Everyone cried out in unwillingness. They had no way out. Everyone was filled with immense grief and hatred for Bai Xiaoqun. Yi Zhang, I hate you. What blood son? What blood soul? What do you mean you can represent Lingxi sect? HMPH. Yi Zhang, you are nothing. Yi Zhang, even if I die in battle, even as a ghost, I will not forgive you. The 3 great blood sons, the Supreme Elder, and the blood spirits all unleashed their strongest fighting power, while the ancestors gnashed their teeth and roared in sorrow. Bai Xiaoqun stared in astonishment at the ancestors of the Lingxi sect, at the formation of the Lingxi sect. He never expected this, and staggered back several steps, bowing his head and laughing painfully. I was naive, thinking that suppressing one side would stop this battle. I was wrong. I understand now. I truly understand. I overestimated my position, misjudged my status. Since it's come to this, Lingxi sect, my loved ones, look at me, watch me go. The laughter grew louder and louder, mixed with sobs. Finally, he suddenly lifted his head, raised his right hand, and called out. Iron Egg. Taidan raised its head and let out an earth-shattering roar. Its body grew larger. 3 zhang, 10 zhang, 20 zhang, 30 zhang. In an instant, its body reached about 30 zhang, like a small mountain. Its aura astonishing. Purple flames beneath its forelegs roared, radiating an earth-shattering aura. That aura, only a Beast King could possess. This was a Beast King. Taidan's speed was incredibly fast, appearing in front of Bai Xiaoqun in a flash, heading towards the Lingxi sect, letting out a deafening roar. Its eyes held complex emotions, but it couldn't hesitate. Whatever it was, as long as Bai Xiaoqun said it, it would definitely follow. Even though it always felt that the people of Lingxi sect treated it very well since Bai Xiaoqun had spoken, it didn't care. Throughout its life, it only cared about one person. Its father, the one who, when it thought it couldn't live anymore, encouraged and called out to it. Those sounds, it would never forget. Its roar contained the majesty of a beast king, causing all the battle beasts of the Lingxi sect to tremble. Then, turning towards their former masters, it roared. All the battle beasts' screams shook the entire Lingxi sect. This, Bai Xiaoqun, what do you want to do? Oh my god, Taidan, you. The Lingxi sect was in chaos, its formation shattered by the deserting battle beasts, especially the North Shore, which was severely wounded. The heavenly horned black dragon in the sky silently looked at Taidan, then, in a flash, appeared beside Taidan, gazing towards the Lingxi sect. All the people of Lingxi sect, the patriarchs, the supreme elders, and those on the inheritance list, were shaken with disbelief. Bai Xiaochun was just a heavenly meridian disciple on the inheritance list. If he formed a golden core, he would be a prominent figure in the inheritance, a rare talent, yet that was all. But at this moment, after the iron egg flew out, and Bai Xiaochun simply called out a word, causing all the war beasts on the north bank to turn and desert, everything changed. They realized that Bai Xiaochun, without anyone knowing, had surpassed everyone's control. Just moments ago, the bloodstream sect was shaken. Now the Lingxi sect was stunned. Shangguan Tianyu clenched his fists, his eyes blazing with anger. Guiya's expression was complex. Wei Hanli was silent, and Gongsun Yun, Susong, and others all gasped for breath. Chu Xinqi was stunned. Hou Yunfei's eyes widened. Hou Xiaomei's eyes widened in disbelief, her heart pounding to the extreme. Zhang Dapin, He Sanpan, and Chen Fei were bewildered. Li Qing'ou remained silent, looking at Bai Xiaochun with a complex expression. Gradually, the complexity in his eyes disappeared, replaced by encouragement. Xiaochun has grown up, Li Qing'ou whispered. Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath, raising his head to look at the ancestors of the Lingxi sect in the air. If you want to destroy the bloodstream sect, then you'll have to step over my dead body. His voice was painful, but resolute. The ancestors of the bloodstream sect were startled. The blood souls, the supreme elder, and the three great blood sons were also shocked, looking at Bai Xiaochun, their emotions uncertain. Su Sheshan, Song Qiu, and Gulai looked at Bai Xiaochun's back, their hearts softening. He turned his back to them, using his life to protect them. He had once again become Zhang Feng Yi Zhang. The entire battlefield watched Bai Xiaochun. No one dared ignore his words anymore. No one dared disregard them. He alone had changed the course of the battle. He alone had suppressed both the bloodstream sect and the spirit stream sect. Now, will you listen to me? Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath, looking at the ancestors of both sides, looking at the cultivators of both sides, his voice carrying an unyielding will. Why do we have to kill each other? Why must one side be destroyed? We are all cultivators of the Eastern Meridian lower realm of the cultivation world. Is the purpose of our cultivation to kill people? Bai Xiaochun's voice echoed. The spirit stream sect fell silent. The bloodstream sect was silent. The entire battlefield was filled only with his voice. Cultivation, isn't it for immortality? Magic, isn't it for protecting the Tao? If there's a better solution, without killing each other, why don't we try? Bai Xiaochun's voice grew louder, almost a shout, looking at the familiar faces, those who had shed blood in the battle. He felt heartbroken. I am a person who is very afraid of death. I not only don't want to die myself, but I also don't want my relatives, my sect, my friends to die. I want everyone I know, the Lingxi sect, the bloodstream sect, to survive. Bai Xiaochun's voice grew louder and louder, echoing in all directions. The people of the Lingxi sect bowed their heads, and many of the bloodstream sect members loosened their clenched fists. Bai Xiaochun's words made the hearts of the ancestors of both sides complicated. I don't need to stick my head out. I can just stand still and watch you all kill each other. Whether the bloodstream sect or the spirit stream sect wins in the end, it won't affect me at all. I am blood son of the bloodstream sect, and I am the inheritor of the spirit stream sect. But I don't want it this way. You can hate me, you can blame me, but I will stop you. Bai Xiaochun roared, tears welling up in his eyes. After this battle, 90% of the disciples of the Lingxi sect will die. Even if they aren't wiped out, they won't be able to recover and will lose their status as a lower level sect. Even if the bloodstream sect wins, it will be a Pyrrhic victory. They'll have to fight against the Zhuangxi sect, then challenge the Kong Academy. By then, will you be able to win again? What are your chances of winning? Even if you win, you'll still be the weakest in the middle level region. Perhaps before long, you'll be eliminated and wiped out by other sects in the middle level. Bai Xiaochun spoke without reservation. Everything he said was true, causing many to ponder. I know the Lingxi sect doesn't want to fight, and the bloodstream sect doesn't want to fight either. They're only competing to become a middle-level sect. But why don't we unite and form a single sect? That way, we'll be the strongest. We can destroy the Zhuangzi sect, the Dengxi sect, seize all their resources, and become even more powerful. With unprecedented strength, we can then destroy the Kong Academy, and we can also advance in rank. Bai Xiaoqun clenched his fists, his expression agitated, his voice growing louder. The resources of the middle stream sects are abundant, enough for all of us to share. Cooperation is mutually beneficial, war is mutually destructive. Why don't we unite? The Lingxi sect and the Zhuangzi sect merge into a new sect, the strongest sect in the lower stream region, striking fear into all other sects. The ancestors on both sides pondered. The principles Bai Xiaoqun spoke of weren't unknown to them, but previously they lacked mutual trust. The idea of merging into a new sect was something they'd never considered, as it was beyond their imagination and fundamentally impossible. But now, perhaps it was achievable. Bai Xiaoqun was the connecting link, uniting the two great sects. For the Lingxi sect, as a heavenly vein disciple, a member of the inheritance list, and capable of controlling all battle beasts, Bai Xiaoqun had become an extremely important figure. Later, as his cultivation level rose, becoming a pillar supporting the Lingxi sect was not an impossible feat. For the Bloodstream sect, since Bai Xiaoqun revealed the power of the Blood Lord, his importance was undeniable with just a thought from him. He could increase the Bloodstream sect's combat power by 30%, or suppress it by half. At this moment, when the Bloodstream sect's ancestor looked at Bai Xiaoqun, the terrifying figure of the Blood Ancestor in the Tongshan River flashed through his mind. Blood Lord, can you control the Blood Ancestor's body? The Bloodstream sect's ancestor hesitated. He dared not suppress the Blood Lord, dared not gamble, for fear that if he lost, the Bloodstream sect would be annihilated. After merging into a new sect, where will the Mountain Gate be located? Ask the Ironwood ancestor of the Lingxi sect. A new sect means a new Mountain Gate. There's no need to stay in the old place. The Kong Academy branch is where our new Mountain Gate will be. Bai Xiaoqun's train of thought became increasingly clear, his eyes blazing with fighting spirit. With my Blood Lord power, I can boost the Bloodxi sect's combat power by 30%. With my ability to control battle beasts, I can gather all the battle beasts of the Lingxi sect. Creating an even stronger force, the two sects merging will become two sharp blades placed side by side. We will conquer the Zhuangzi sect, conquer the Dengxi sect, and powerfully sweep across the Kong Academy branch into the central branch. The central branch is a place unfamiliar to us, so if we want to be strong there, we can only trust each other. The patriarchs of both factions pondered thoughtfully, looking at Bai Xiaoqun and sighing inwardly. This battle could no longer continue, because the Lingxi sect trusted Bai Xiaoqun, and the Bloodstream sect also trusted Bai Xiaoqun. As time passed, although silence still prevailed, many people began to murmur amongst themselves, and the tension of the battlefield eased considerably. Bai Xiaoqun also felt less tense. But at this moment, Ancestor Xiangyan of the Bloodstream sect's eyes flashed, emitting intense killing intent. You're spouting nonsense. You must have killed our Zhongfeng's Wezi Zhang, impersonating him and using evil doctrines to deceive others. I must destroy you. Before he finished speaking, he lunged forward, swinging his right hand, his powerful nascent soul cultivation erupting, creating a massive vortex. The vortex blazed with murderous intent, transforming into countless sword energies that all slashed directly at Bai Xiaoqun. His body felt as if it were bound, unable to struggle. A nascent soul ancestor was attacking, while Bai Xiaoqun was only at the mid-stage of foundation establishment. The difference between the two was like a vast ocean and a small pond. But that wasn't the ultimate killing move of Ancestor Xiangyan. His ultimate killing move was a palm strike from his right hand. As this palm strike appeared, the sky exploded, flames blazed fiercely, burning the space, forming a giant hand hundreds of meters in diameter, burning through the void, carrying a will of annihilation, aimed directly at Bai Xiaoqun. Ancestor Xiangyan's attack was too sudden. The ancestors on both sides couldn't react in time, and everyone's expressions changed. Xiangyan, stop! The Bloodstream sect ancestor roared anxiously, his right hand flashing out a claw to block. But his cultivation had been suppressed by half, so he lacked the strength to completely block the attack from Ancestor Xiangyan, only managing to slightly halt it. The Bloodstream sect ancestor's expression changed, his eyes flashing with cold light. Bai Xiaoqun was too important. If he died, the two sects would have to continue fighting. with no possibility of reconciliation. Because the binding thread had been broken, the Song family ancestors' eyes narrowed. No matter what, Bai Xiaochun was his adopted son, and someone dared to try to kill his adopted son right in front of him. How could he tolerate that? So he roared, lunging forward, his right hand forming a hand seal, and a sky-shattering sword energy slashed straight at Xiang Yan. But because his cultivation had been reduced by half, the Song family ancestors' sword energy also shattered. Ancestor Xiang Yan's large hand only dimmed slightly, but it continued straight towards Bai Xiaochun. The first patriarch of the Lingxi sect was enraged, roaring terrifyingly. He formed a hand seal, and a chain of iron suddenly appeared, rapidly growing to 100 feet long, flying towards Xiang Yan to block his path. The fiery giant hand was half damaged, but because Patriarch Xiang Yan had acted first, seizing the initiative, even with repeated obstructions, it didn't completely dissipate. The half-damaged hand slammed directly at Bai Xiaochun. Xiaochun! Night burial? Bai Xiaochun's face turned pale as he screamed. Veins bulged on his forehead, his whole body creaked, his bones felt like they were about to shatter, and the feeling of impending death was overwhelming. But he was unwilling to give up. His eyes blazed red, and with both hands forming hand seals, a purple lantern appeared in his hands, flying up to intercept the damaged hand. Boom! 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 The purple lantern burned to ashes, purple flames spreading everywhere, forming a gigantic human face that flew towards and collided with the damaged hand. This purple lamp was bestowed by the Song family's patriarch. Its power is immense, not much inferior to that of Patriarch Xiang Yan. The two sides clashed. A shockwave spread across the sky, the purple flames dissipated, and the remnant palm continued to be ravaged, yet it still flew forward. Bai Xiaochun spat out fresh blood, thrown back by the impact force. He swung his right hand, and a four-colored jade pendant appeared, releasing a four-layered screen of light in different colors to block in front of him. As soon as the shield was erected, the remnant palm arrived, and continuous explosions resounded as the four-layered screen shattered layer by layer. Although each shattering dimmed the remnant palm considerably, it was still not enough to completely dissipate it. The ancestors roared, all worried about Bai Xiaochun, and the four-layered screen shattered completely. The destructive hand, like a splitting force, slammed into Bai Xiaochun, but just as it struck, Bai Xiaochun managed to pull out a talisman, a divine power talisman. He slammed the talisman against his chest, roaring. The immortal longevity technique erupted, and two enormous heavenly demon bodies appeared behind him. Thanks to the effect of the divine power talisman, Bai Xiaochun's physical strength had doubled. His body slammed into the destructive hand. If this scene were painted, it would surely shock the viewer, because under the fiery hand, Bai Xiaochun's figure was nowhere to be seen, only two green-skinned heavenly demons. Boom, boom, boom. The earth-shattering explosions shook the surroundings, and the fiery hand finally shattered, turning into countless scattered sparks. The two heavenly demon bodies of Bai Xiaochun also showed cracks, then broke into many pieces. His body fell rapidly, crashing heavily to the ground, creating a pit 10 meters deep. In the pit, Bai Xiaochun's face was ashen, blood gushing from his mouth, his breath faint, completely unconscious. No one saw the black light in his right hand gradually dissipating. Just before he lost consciousness, he managed to remove the cultivation suppression from the bloodstream sect members. No one saw that when Xiang Yan attacked Bai Xiaochun, a monkey in the Luochun mountain range had eyes blazing fiercely, and a pair of red eyes suddenly flickered in the clouds above the bloodstream sect. Two figures appeared beside Bai Xiaochun in the abyss. One was the Song family's ancestor, and the other was Li Qinghu's master, Taimu Zhenren. They appeared beside Bai Xiaochun, exchanging wary and cautious glances. The bloodstream sect members, having had their cultivation suppression lifted, unleashed a powerful surge of energy. The blood cloud continued to spread, causing the corpse refiners and demons to tremble and roar. Especially Tai Dan, who hadn't managed to catch up earlier, now glared fiercely at Han Yan, his eyes filled with hatred. The bodies of the three great blood sons, Blood Soul, the Supreme Elder, the inner disciples, the outer disciples, and the bloodstream sect ancestors in the sky all trembled. The suppression had been lifted. The disciples of the Lingxi sect unconsciously quickened their breaths, focusing their attention on the bloodstream sect. The atmosphere of impending conflict had become tense again. Everyone knew that if a conflict arose now, there would be no stopping the fighting? Han Yanzhenren frowned, looking at Bai Xiaochun in the pit, sighing inwardly. He saw that he wasn't dead, only severely injured. Although he regretted it, there was no longer any opportunity to strike again. Although he's only unconscious, that's enough. Han Yanzhenren unleashed his killing intent, looking at the Lingxi sect with a resounding laugh. The suppression has been lifted. That despicable Lingxi sect, today, we will definitely wipe out Lingxi. Bloodstream sect brothers, follow me to destroy Lingxi sect. Han Yanzhenren flew out first, and many Bloodstream sect disciples were drawn in by his aura, their eyes revealing killing intent as they followed. But from high above the Bloodstream sect, a cold snort suddenly rang out. Bloodstream sect, since when did it become your turn to be in charge? A powerful restraining force slammed down, causing the Bloodstream sect disciples who were rushing out to freeze. Han Yanzhenren's expression changed as he looked up at the person who had just spoken, who was slowly approaching. It was the Bloodstream sect's ancestor. The suppression of his cultivation was gone, his aura erupting with overwhelming power. With each step he took, the heavens and earth seemed to slightly distort. Feng Shenzi, what do you mean by that? Han Yanzhenren's face darkened as he angrily questioned the ancestor. What do I mean? I told you to stop just now. Why did you continue to attack? I don't believe you can't see that this person isn't an imposter. He is indeed the blood son of our Bloodstream sect. And also the Blood Master. The Bloodstream sect ancestor's eyes flashed with cold light as he slowly spoke, his voice resounding like thunder. Of course I know he's blood son, but do you really want the people of my Bloodstream sect, including us, to be suppressed by a mere junior who can always reduce their cultivation by half? That's why I want to kill him. Killing him will not only bring no harm to my Bloodstream sect, but will also bring countless blessings. As the ancestor approached, Han Yanzhenren felt pressured and retreated a few steps, speaking while glancing at the other Bloodstream sect ancestors. What I'm doing is exactly what you're all hesitating to do. Someone in the Bloodstream sect wavered, and the Bloodstream sect ancestors all frowned, their thoughts unreadable. The ancestor merely smiled faintly, staring intently at Han Yanzhenren. I can suppress all of you, so do you also want to kill me? Moreover, I really want to know, why wasn't your cultivation suppressed when you attacked just now? As soon as those words were spoken, the Bloodstream sect members were stunned, involuntarily exclaiming. No one had noticed it before, but now, hearing it, they were all startled. Only the first-generation ancestor of the Spirit Stream sect had seen this. Ancestor Han Yan's face changed color, cold sweat beaded on his forehead. He couldn't explain this, only harboring resentment in his heart. According to his calculations, as long as he killed Bai Xiaochun, even if it were later exposed, but without Bai Xiaochun, the Bloodstream sect and the Spirit Stream sect would absolutely not be able to merge again. They would inevitably kill each other again. Damn it, this Bai Xiaochun has such a strong life force. He survived my attack and didn't die. Han Yanzhenren gritted his teeth, his body becoming blurry as he quickly retreated. Want to leave? The ancestor's eyes flashed with killing intent, and he swung his right hand, pointing at Han Yanzhenren. At the same time, the patriarchs of the Lingxi sect also teleported, surrounding Han Yanzhenren to prevent him from escaping. A finger strike from the Bloodstream sect's ancestor landed, and Han Yanzhenren, seeing no escape, roared, his hands forming a hand seal, his entire body bursting into flames to counter. A deafening explosion followed, Han Yanzhenren's mouth gushing blood, and he was quickly forced back by the impact. The 6 patriarchs snorted coldly, each forming a hand seal, unleashing spells, magical artifacts, and divine abilities. A blood sword appeared, slashing down. The wielder was Wu Jizi. A ferocious dragon appeared, roaring, and beside it stood the patriarch of Shazay Peak. He took a step forward, his fist shattering the void and creating a whirlwind. The ancestor waved his hand, a large banner appearing, creating a black wine that transformed into a black phoenix, emitting a soul-shaking cry. In a flash, it flew towards Han Yanzhenren, who had no way to dodge. Han Yanzhenren burst into laughter, his expression ferocious. He slammed his hands against his chest, and with a loud bang, his hair instantly turned white. Beyond the skin covering the old man's body, countless different faces emerged, male and female, young and old, all contorted and shrieking mournfully. Heavenly face Dao, heartless arm. Han Yanzhenren laughed loudly. With a resounding explosion, Han Yanzhenren's entire body seemed to self-destruct, bursting apart. The faces, emitting mournful cries, flew out in all directions. The heavenly face of the Zhuangzi sect. Wu Jizi's eyes narrowed as he exclaimed. The ancestor and other elders all changed color, recognizing the origin of this unique clone technique. The elders of the Lingxi sect were also stunned, recognizing the secret technique of the most mysterious elder in the legends of the Zhuangzi sect. Although the elders had joined forces and set up a vast net, some faces still slipped through. A youthful face fled, flying over 10,000 feet away, then shifted, transforming into a pale-faced, white-haired young man. This young man didn't stop, continuing his teleportation escape. Heavenly face. Wu Jizi's eyes blazed with murderous intent as he chased after the white-haired young man. In an instant, the two, one after the other, vanished into the horizon. The Bloodstream sect members were stunned. No one expected that one of their sect's ancestors, Han Yanzhenren, was the heavenly face of the Zhuangzi sect. It was conceivable that Han Yanzhenren had truly been killed, his skin created using a secret technique, and replaced by the heavenly face. Recalling the heavenly face attack on Bai Xiaochun, everyone understood that the heavenly face couldn't allow Bai Xiaochun to disrupt the unification of the two sects. Only if Bai Xiaochun was dead would that happen. The events of today were truly shocking for the Bloodstream sect. The appearance of the Blood Demon, one of their ancestors being a dark sun, all of this happened so quickly that they couldn't process it all. Everyone felt humiliated, and some even felt bewildered about the Bloodstream sect. The ancestor gritted his teeth bitterly, looking at the first-generation ancestor of the Spirit Stream sect, then at Bai Xiaochun lying unconscious on the ground. Should they fight or cooperate? Suddenly, his ears twitched slightly, as if someone was transmitting a message to him. After a long silence, his face became resolute, and he spoke. The mysterious Stream sect instigated the conflict between the two sects, wanting to see them kill each other, killing our Bloodstream sect's Taoist Xiang Yan, and even wanting to destroy our blood sun. This cannot be tolerated. The Bloodstream sect will go to war. We will not return until blood is spilled. Today we have gone. Let's destroy the mysterious Stream sect. The voice of the Bloodstream sect's founder echoed throughout the space, reaching the ears of every Bloodstream sect disciple, enraging the Bloodstream sect members. We swear to destroy the Zhuangzi sect, avenge ancestor Xiang Yan. The Bloodstream sect members, needing a target to vent their anger, were enraged by the ancestors' words, their bloodlust and killing intent surging. The army shifted direction, the blood sea beneath the ground churned, the blood clouds in the sky deepened. Blood giants roared, blood-colored warships surged forward, and spheres of disciples shot forth, creating earth-shattering explosions. The Bloodstream sect's ancestors no longer wanted to stay, flying into the blood clouds and departing. The first-generation ancestor of the Lingxi sect pondered, looking at his fellow Taoists around him. Seeing the determination in their eyes, he turned to gaze at a void in the Luochen mountain range. After a long pause, a look of determination appeared in his eyes, and he gritted his teeth. The Zhuangzi sect wants to disrupt the unification of the two sects and harm our people. They must be destroyed, he said, waving his hand forcefully. The Lingxi sect is setting out its target to annihilate the Zhuangzi sect. The Lingxi sect members surged with killing intent, their formations radiating dazzling light, giants flying out, a white sun moving across the sky, shaking the heavens wherever it passed. Many who emerged from the Luochen mountain range turned to look at Bai Xiaochun in the deep pit, then resolutely charged forward, straight towards the Zhuangzi sect's mountain gate. A battle that would shake the entire lower reaches of the cultivation world was about to begin, a full-scale war unprecedented in tens of thousands of years. A new sect, like a rising sun, was about to begin radiating its dazzling light from the sea of blood. Everyone gradually moved away, leaving only a small group of people from the Bloodstream sect and the Lingxi sect behind, including the Ironwood ancestor and the Song family ancestor. They stayed because of Bai Xiaochun. Bai Xiaochun was important to both sects. Leaving him with either sect would be unsettling for the other. Moreover, leaving him here would become a threat to both sects. As long as Bai Xiaochun was alive, everything was fine. But if he were to get lost, and the connection was broken, there was a high possibility of trouble arising. Hou Xiaomei naturally didn't leave. She had long been keeping an eye on Song Zhenwan, and her female intuition told her there was something between Song Zhenwan and Bai Xiaochun. Song Junwan also didn't leave heartbroken at the sight of the unconscious Bai Xiaochun. The Luochen mountain range gradually returned to tranquility. The remaining cultivators from both sects were all within the Luochen mountain range, divided into two areas. A cave dwelling was erected between the two areas, guarded by heavily armed soldiers, and both sect ancestors kept a close watch, determined to prevent any unforeseen incidents. Inside the cave, Bai Xiaochun lay unconscious. Every day, Hao Xiaomei and Song Junwan would appear to keep him company. Song Junwan, of course, also recognized the relationship between Hao Xiaomei and Bai Xiaochun. Therefore, cultivators from both sects often witnessed the murderous intent between the two women and frequently heard them arguing fiercely. Everyone felt sorry for Bai Xiaochun. Time passed, and a month later, Bai Xiaochun's breathing gradually returned to normal. His internal injuries were slowly healing thanks to the immortal longevity technique. The Bloodstream sect and the Spirit Stream sect spared no expense, bringing many healing elixirs, helping his injuries recover extremely quickly. This afternoon, Bai Xiaochun woke up, his eyes slowly opening. Feeling that he was still alive, Bai Xiaochun was excited. He recalled that before he fainted, if he hadn't managed to take out the turtle pattern cauldron in time to create a final defensive line, he would have been annihilated. That wicked Dan Xiangyan, I'll get revenge when I'm stronger than you. Bai Xiaochun gritted his teeth, about to stand up, when he suddenly felt something strange. He turned his head and saw Hao Xiaomei not far away, hands on her hips, glaring fiercely at Song Junwan, who was lazily lounging on the other side. The two were engrossed in their fight, not noticing that Bai Xiaochun had opened his eyes. Bai Xiaochun was stunned, feeling that the scene was a little strange. He quickly closed his eyes and opened them again, realizing he hadn't seen anything. His heart skipped a beat, his whole body tensed, and then he heard Hao Xiaomei speak. "Aunt Song, why are you here again? Oh dear, you're at the age to retire. Go back and rest." "I can handle Brother Xiaochun by myself." Hao Xiaomei glared. "You little brat, you don't understand anything. You wouldn't know what kind of relationship I have with your Uncle Zikun. If it weren't for the fact that you're Yizhang's granddaughter, I'd definitely slap you to death." Song Junwen glared, arrogantly retorting. She held a high position and her imposing aura immediately established her own status over Hozi Mei. "You're his granddaughter. Your whole family are his granddaughters. Zikun and I are a match made in heaven. We've been carefree young people since he first joined our sect. I was able to become an outer disciple thanks to Zikun's help," Hozi Mei said softly. This wasn't the first time they'd argued. For the past month, they'd quarreled almost every day. With Song Junwen's temperament, she'd nearly lost control and killed Hozi Mei several times. But thinking of the plan to merge the two sects, and thinking of Bai Xiaochun, she restrained herself. Bai Xiaochun licked his lips, sensing the killing intent between the two, and decided to close his eyes and pretend to remain unconscious. Suddenly, he noticed an unusual silence around him. This silence made him even more tense. He strained his ears to listen, and suddenly his scalp tingled. He heard two breaths very close to him. Bai Xiaochun broke out in a cold sweat, trying to appear dazed as if he had just woken up. He opened his eyes and saw two beautiful faces. One mature, one naive, one exceptionally elegant, the other infinitely pure. "Good morning," Bai Xiaochun said nervously. Song Junwan smiled, her eyes gentle, and placed her hand on Bai Xiaochun's forehead. Her eyes sparkled like water as she softly reassured him. "Don't be afraid. It's just pretending to be unconscious, isn't it? Tell me, how many days have you been pretending?" Bai Xiaochun swallowed hard, but before he could reply, Hao Xiaomei pushed Song Junwan's hand aside, standing between them and glaring at Song Junwan. "What do you want to do? Brother Xiaochun is innocent. How could he pretend to be unconscious?" After saying that, Hao Xiaomei hesitated, tilting her head to look at Bai Xiaochun, and asked softly, "Brother Xiaochun, you've learned bad habits. Pretending to be unconscious is wrong." Bai Xiaochun's forehead was sweating even more, feeling like he had needles in his back, unable to sit still. "Yizhang, I want to talk to you alone. You still owe me an explanation." Song Junwan rolled her eyes and said indifferently, "Brother Xiaochun, I also want to talk to you alone." Hao Xiaomei, unwilling to be outdone, also chimed in. Bai Xiaochun was flustered. Seeing the two of them glaring at him, waiting for his decision, he widened his eyes, took a deep breath, and with a serious expression and a low voice, said, "Okay." Ho Xiaomei had never seen him like this before. She was stunned, feeling that Little Kun's current appearance was even more attractive than before. Song Jungwon's eyes sparkled. This was the night burial she remembered. "Let me ask first, after I fainted, what happened to the two sects? Where am I now? Am I still in the Luochen mountain range?" Bai Xiaochun asked in a serious tone, feigning concern for something important. He had quickly learned the situation and knew that if he returned to Xiangyun Mountain, the Bloodstream sect wouldn't agree, and if he returned to the Central Peak, the Spirit Stream sect wouldn't agree. Therefore, he had to stay in the Luochen mountain range. The two sects had left many people to protect him. Even the Song family's ancestor and Tai Muzin had stayed to protect him. Bai Xiaochun was deeply moved. He listened to Song Junwan recount the situation on the front lines. The Bloodstream sect and Spirit Stream sect's armies were attacking the Zhuangqi sect. With the combined strength of the two sects, the Zhuangqi sect was no match, having lost more than half of its territory and suffering continuous defeats. Hearing that, Bai Xiaochun sighed, feeling that his status was really important. Even if he asked to go to the battlefield, the ancestors of the two sects wouldn't agree. "It's all my fault. I'm too outstanding." Sigh. Bai Xiaochun was both happy and sad at the same time. He thought it would be better not to ask to go to the battlefield, not to add more pressure on the ancestors. What if the ancestors got bitten by some creature and agreed to let him go? That wouldn't be good. Well, let the ancestors have a reason not to let me go to the battlefield. I suddenly feel a terrible stomach ache. It seems my injuries haven't healed yet. I must continue to recuperate. Thinking this, Bai Xiaochun realized he was being considerate of everyone and immediately clutched his stomach, continuing to feign illness. For the next few days, Bai Xiaochun feigned illness, sometimes going out of his cave dwelling, other times gazing at the sky, his heart filled with emotion. There are so few sensible disciples like me. Knowing that the ancestors didn't want me to go to the battlefield, I had to proactively pretend to be injured and not fully recovered. Bai Xiaochun shook his head, feeling that he had truly matured and understood much more. Uncle Li and the sect master would definitely be very pleased with me if they knew. Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath, realizing he had been out for too long and needed to return before anyone knew he was faking it. Taking advantage of the fact that Ho Xiaomei and Song Jungwan hadn't arrived yet, he hurried back to sleep. If those two came, he would be in trouble. Thinking about Ho Xiaomei and Song Jungwan over the past few days, Bai Xiaochun shuddered. "It's terrifying. Those two are staring at me as if they want to tear me in two." As Bai Xiaochun turned around, he saw Song Jungwan approaching from a distance. Bai Xiaochun's eyes widened. "Oh my god, it wasn't this time a few days ago." Bai Xiaochun tensed up, seeing Ho Xiaomei also running towards him from another direction. He took a deep breath, immediately assuming a serious expression. Before the two women even got close, he said, "I have to go see the ancestors." Having said that, he swiftly flew towards the area where the two ancestors were located. Halfway there, he slapped his forehead, realizing his oversight. He began flying erratically, swaying and stumbling, seemingly unable to stand or breathe properly until he reached the other side of the Luochen mountain range. There were two parallel mountains there, not very high, only about 100 feet. The Song family ancestors and Tai Muzhenren resided on these two mountains. As soon as Bai Xiaochun arrived, the Song family's patriarch and Tai Muzhenren looked down. "Bai Xiaochun, greetings, patriarch." Bai Xiaochun bowed. "How are your injuries?" Tai Muzhenren asked with a half smile. Bai Xiaochun was about to reply when the Song family patriarch on the other side of the mountain snorted. Bai Xiaochun sighed inwardly and bowed again. "Yi Zhang, greetings, foster father." Only then did the Song family patriarch smile. "I saw you flying over. Your aura seemed unstable. It appears your injuries haven't healed yet." "They're better. Still not completely healed." Bai Xiaochun felt guilty, knowing he couldn't fool the two patriarchs, and hesitated before answering. "Yes, not completely healed, then continue to recuperate." Tai Muzhenren smiled, waved his hand, and a medicine bottle flew out, heading straight for Bai Xiaochun. Bai Xiaochun took the bottle, opened it, and his eyes widened. This was a 4th grade elixir with extremely good effects, but it wasn't for healing, but rather to support cultivation. The Song family's ancestor raised his eyebrows and waved his hand, sending 2 bottles of medicine flying out. Bai Xiaochun licked his lips, caught the bottle, opened it, and his eyes widened again. This medicine was also a 4th grade top grade, not far from 5th grade, with rich blood energy, extremely good for cultivating the immortal longevity technique. Bai Xiaochun was excited, looking at the 2 ancestors with excitement. He felt that these 2 were too good to him, knowing he was healthy. They gave him spiritual medicine to enhance his cultivation. It seems I have truly grown up, and can now help the ancestors share their worries. This is a hint telling me to continue pretending to be sick. Bai Xiaochun sighed, took a deep breath, and bowed to thank the 2 ancestors. Ancestor, foster father, rest assured, I will definitely not let you down. Bai Xiaochun said, his eyes showing a look of I understand your intentions, then turned and left. The Song family's ancestor smiled, and Tai Muzhenren also shook his head and chuckled. They wanted Bai Xiaochun to go to the battlefield, but were also worried about his safety, so they let him choose for himself without forcing him. Back at his cave dwelling, Bai Xiaochun breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Hou Xiaomei and Song Zhenwan were both absent, and sat down to cultivate. He discovered that his cultivation had slightly increased compared to before he became immortal, and the immortal longevity technique was also considerably stronger. At this rate, Late Foundation establishment is within reach. Bai Xiaochun was overjoyed, thinking about how he had single-handedly resolved the war between the 2 sects, feeling even more self-satisfied. He was about to take some elixirs when he heard Hou Xiaomei's voice outside the door. Xiaochun brother, I brought you medicine. The cave-dwelling door opened and Hou Xiaomei, her face flushed, entered with a bowl of medicine. The steaming bowl of medicine made Hou Xiaomei's face flush, causing Bai Xiaochun's heart to pound. But then he saw Song Zhenwan enter, smiling mischievously, carrying a bowl of medicine. Her modest attire couldn't hide her curvaceous figure. Brother Yizhang, let me help you drink the medicine. Both approached Bai Xiaochun, each holding a bowl of medicine. Song Zhenwan smiled, while Hou Xiaomei blushed. Bai Xiaochun's stomach burned, and he inwardly cursed them as seductive. He glanced left and right, noticing Hou Xiaomei standing closer, and instinctively reached out to take her bowl. Hou Xiaomei's eyes lit up with excitement, and she glanced at Song Zhenwan with a smug look. Song Zhenwan glared, snorted, and radiated a murderous aura, causing Bai Xiaochun to take a deep breath and change direction, intending to take Song Zhenwan's bowl. Little Kun brother, this is something someone spent a whole day watching over and cooking, Hou Xiaomei said, her eyes reddening and her body trembling with heartache. This caused Bai Xiaochun's hand to change direction again. Yi Tang, do you remember what you said to me back in Zhongfeng? Drink this medicine first, and I'll believe what you said is true. Song Zhenwan's voice was gentle but firm, as if she would turn around and leave immediately if Bai Xiaochun didn't drink her medicine first, never to see him again. Bai Xiaochun froze, looking at the 2 bowls of medicine, feeling like he was going crazy. You 2 didn't conspire to appear before me at the same time, did you? Bai Xiaochun felt his blood boiling. He was so old, and this was the first time he'd encountered something like this. He was caught between a rock and a hard place. Bai Xiaochun gritted his teeth, extended both hands, each holding a bowl of medicine, and forced himself to drink it all, not caring that the medicine spilled onto him. Although it was uncomfortable to drink both bowls of medicine at once, Bai Xiaochun secretly breathed a sigh of relief, thinking how quick his reaction was. By doing this, neither Hou Xiaomei nor Song Zhenwan could blame him. But after he finished drinking, Song Zhenwan's eyes blazed with murderous intent. She took a deep breath, glared at Bai Xiaochun, and turned to leave. Hou Xiaomei was even more heartbroken, her eyes filled with resentment, and she turned and walked away as well. Bai Xiaochun stood there dumbfounded, watching them go and tearing at his hair. What did I do wrong? I drank it all. I didn't distinguish between them. Bai Xiaochun cried, tears welling up in his eyes. After a long while, he closed the door of his cave dwelling with a dejected expression. If this continues, I'll go crazy. I must go into seclusion. Bai Xiaochun gritted his teeth, drank the elixirs given to him by Tai Muzhenren and the Song family's ancestor, and began his seclusion. Days passed, and in the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Bai Xiaochun was almost at the Late Foundation establishment stage. The 5th layer of his spiritual sea had already crystallized, and the 6th layer was also nearly half crystallized. Once the 6th layer was completely crystallized, Bai Xiaochun would reach the peak of the mid-stage foundation establishment realm. Every day, he would take out the little black turtle and shake it. The little black turtle emitted a fragrant aura, causing the surrounding natural spiritual energy to rush into him, accelerating the crystallization of the sixth layer of his spiritual sea. 6/10, 7/10, 8/10. Another half-month passed. That morning, Bai Xiaochun's entire body exploded with energy. The sixth layer of his spiritual sea had completely crystallized, and a massive surge of spiritual power erupted from within him, his whole body crackling. The powerful heavenly Tao aura caused the heavens and earth to change. Ironwood True Immortal, the Song family's ancestor, and the cultivators remaining in the Luochen mountain range all felt the change emanating from Bai Xiaochun's cave dwelling. Thunder and lightning roared, and a swirling vortex appeared in the sky, continuously descending. Bai Xiaochun opened his eyes. He had entered the late-stage foundation establishment realm. Bai Xiaochun opened his eyes, a dazzling light flashing within them, like two lightning bolts in the dark cave, causing the surrounding void to tremble slightly. A powerful surge of cultivation emanated from him, stirring the heavens, his meridians surging like raging waves. Finally, the circulation returned to normal, his 6 layers of refined essence shining brightly and steadily. He heard faint cracking sounds within, a sensation only he could hear, transporting him back to the ebb and flow of the tides in the eternal sword abyss. Bai Xiaochun breathed steadily, feeling his current cultivation level several times stronger than before. Foundation establishment, late stage. Bai Xiaochun looked up and laughed loudly, his expression exhilarated and incredibly excited. All his efforts had paid off. From now on, I, Bai Xiaochun, can sweep aside foundation establishment cultivators. Any early foundation establishment cultivator who dares to provoke me, I will slap them to their demise. Making them weep bitterly, Bai Xiaochun excitedly stood up. As he rose, a third heavenly demon body suddenly appeared behind him. The vortex outside the cave continued to spin. As Bai Xiaochun stood up, a heavenly demon body suddenly appeared within the vortex, followed by a second and a third. The 3 towering heavenly demon bodies left all the surrounding cultivators speechless. What is that? This seems like a Dharma manifestation. My God, what kind of cultivation technique is Senior Uncle Bai practicing? The Bloodstream sect members were also astonished. Because Bai Xiaochun had also cultivated the body refining method of Shaozhe Peak, the Bloodstream sect cultivators could deduce more than the Spirit Stream sect. Shaozhe Peak body refining method. This is a heavenly demon body, night burial. As expected of the Blood Lord, having cultivated the body refining method to such a level, the next step must be the blood slaughter body on the 2 mountains. The Song family's ancestors' eyes gleamed with surprise, while Tai Mugenren's gaze was gloomy. Both were shaken by the 3 heavenly demon bodies. Tanger's heavenly demon body doesn't seem quite like Xiao Zifang's, the Song family's ancestor muttered. Tai Mugenren seemed lost in thought. The 2 exchanged glances, neither saying anything further. Inside the cave, Bai Xiaochun laughed heartily, utterly delighted. What's wrong? The elixirs my foster father and Tai Mugenren gave me shouldn't have been enough for me to cultivate to this level. Could it be? Could it be that after I was injured, some unknown potential was activated? Ha ha ha. It must be. Bai Xiaochun gesticulated wildly, feeling incredibly powerful. No, I can't be arrogant. I still need to work harder. After the late foundation establishment stage, my goal is to reach the great perfection of the 9 layers of the Spirit Sea. And once I reach great perfection, I can attempt to break through to the Golden Core Realm. Bai Xiaochun's excitement surged, his eyes shining brightly as he thought about the Golden Core Realm. I heard that the Golden Core can increase lifespan by at least 500 years. 500 years. If I succeed, I can live for over 1,000 years. Bai Xiaochun clenched his fists, his eyes blazing with excitement. Just thinking about the possibility of living for over 1,000 years made him uncontrollably agitated. Immortal Scroll Volume 2, I've completed the Ancient Elephant Body, the Savage Ghost Body, the Heavenly Demon Body, and after the Heavenly Demon Body is the Asura Body. If I complete the Asura Body, then I can break through to the Immortal Diamond Body. Bai Xiaochun patted his chest, laughing loudly as he walked out, eager to see how powerful he had become. But after only a few steps, his expression changed. With his current cultivation level, he sensed 2 people flying rapidly towards him, Song Junwan and Ho Xiaomei. Obviously, they had noticed Bai Xiaochun's breakthrough in cultivation and the end of his seclusion, and had come to visit. Just thinking about the terrifying scene of the two of them appearing simultaneously, Bai Xiaochun's face turned pale. He slapped his chest hard, his whole body swaying, looking as weak as a blade of grass. Song Junwan and Ho Xiaomei quickly flew over. Seeing each other, they were about to argue, but seeing Bai Xiaochun's weak appearance, their expressions changed, forgetting their quarrel, and they rushed over. "Brother Xiaochun, what's wrong, Yizang? What happened? Wasn't everything going smoothly just now?" Ho Xiaomei and Song Junwan panicked, supporting Bai Xiaochun, preventing him from going out again, and helping him back to bed. Both spoke gently, without arguing, making Bai Xiaochun secretly breathe a sigh of relief. It was probably just a little unstable at the end. "I'll be fine after a little rest," Bai Xiaochun coughed a few times, weakly replying, and lay down, closing his eyes. Knowing that Bai Xiaochun needed rest, Ho Xiaomei and Song Junwan quietly left. After they were out of sight, Bai Xiaochun opened his eyes wide and sighed dejectedly. What should I do now? Bai Xiaochun felt miserable, realizing this kind of life was unbearable. After thinking for a long time, he decided he had to continue feigning weakness. Another half-month passed, and Bai Xiaochun couldn't keep pretending to be weak forever. He had to try to make his complexion look a little better. Moreover, in these past few days, Song Junwan seemed to have realized Bai Xiaochun was faking illness. Ho Xiaomei, though simple-minded, wasn't stupid and looked at him suspiciously. Bai Xiaochun's heart trembled. He felt this life was too miserable and considered going to the battlefield, but the thought of dying there made him hesitate. Well, maybe I should just endure it. What else can I do? Bai Xiaochun pulled at his hair anxiously, then suddenly changed his expression and resumed his feigned weakness. Not long after, Ho Xiaomei and Song Junwan arrived again. "Brother Xiaochun, it's not good for you to stay in the cave like this. Let me take you out to play for a while," Ho Xiaomei said gently. "That matter?" Bai Xiaochun hesitated. "Yi Tang, we are cultivators. A little injury is nothing. Come on, let's take a stroll in the Luochen mountain range, get some exercise, and it will help us recover faster." Song Junwan smiled, but not quite, and took Bai Xiaochun's left hand. Ho Xiaomei glared, defiantly rushing forward and grabbing Bai Xiaochun's right hand. Bai Xiaochun gaped, unable to refuse before he was dragged out by Song Junwan and Ho Xiaomei. His feet didn't even touch the ground. He was like a condemned prisoner being dragged to the execution ground. The two women on either side constantly exuded killing intent, glaring at each other, making Bai Xiaochun sweat profusely and want to cry but unable to. It was early morning, and the Luochen mountain range was shrouded in mist. Only towards the rising sun did a little warm sunlight appear. Seeing Bai Xiaochun being dragged out, the cultivators looked at him sympathetically and moved aside. Bai Xiaochun opened his mouth to speak but then stopped, feeling it was best not to say anything, otherwise it would only cause more headaches. He decided to just walk, perhaps. Nothing would happen. As he was thinking this, a bird flew across the sky, shrouded in mist. This bird was entirely crimson, graceful and beautiful, creating a beautiful rainbow arc as it flew by, its beak chirping sweetly. "Yizang, look, that's a blood spirit bird." Song Junwan pointed at the bird, happily saying, "A blood spirit bird of the bloodstream sect. I didn't expect to find one here. Back in the central peak, I like the blood spirit bird the most." Bai Xiaochun looked up at the bird, about to nod, when Ho Xiaomei spoke up in dissatisfaction. "A blood spirit bird. It's clearly a swallowtail bird of our Lingxi sect." Song Junwan glared at Ho Xiaomei, who, not to be outdone, puffed out her chest and glared back. Bai Xiaochun, caught in the middle, sensed this was going to escalate. Before he could think of a solution, Song Junwan smiled seductively, her eyes sparkling as she glanced at Bai Xiaochun. "Yizang, tell me, is that bird a blood spirit or an iris?" Ho Xiaomei also pulled Bai Xiaochun's hand, her face pitiful, her eyes welling up with tears, her voice soft. "Xiaochun, brother, quickly tell this auntie that it's an iris." Bai Xiaochun felt like his head was going to explode. He widened his eyes, staring blankly at the bird, feeling like he was going crazy. That bird actually had two names. In the Bloodstream sect, it was called the Blood Spirit Bird, and in the Spirit Stream sect, it was called the Swallowtail Bird. The two people beside him were both filled with killing intent, making Bai Xiaochun want to cry. He truly hated that bird. Damn bird, you, why are you here? Bai Xiaochun trembled, turning left to look at Song Junwan, then to Hou Xiaomei. Both were looking at him expectantly. If he said this name, it would hurt the other one. Bai Xiaochun was heartbroken, gritting his teeth, intending to make up a new name. But Song Junwan stopped him. Yi Zhang, if you make up a name, it means you're deceiving us. Little Kun brother, you can't say you don't know. We clearly saw it at the Lingxi sect. For once, Hou Xiaomei agreed with Song Junwan, making Bai Xiaochun. Bai Xiaochun broke out in a desperate sweat. They had already explained it so clearly. How could he possibly deceive them anymore? What do I do now? Bai Xiaochun wanted to cry. He finally understood that these two weren't after the bird at all, but were trying to force him to choose. Bai Xiaochun shouted, pointing at the bird. All right, I'll tell you what kind of bird it is. It's a. Bai Xiaochun stopped speaking, secretly biting his tongue, forcing his cultivation to cause his meridians to become chaotic, spitting out a mouthful of blood, and fainting. Before losing consciousness, he still secretly sighed. Song Junwan and Hou Xiaomei were startled to see Bai Xiaochun spitting out fresh blood. They quickly reached out to support him, and upon sensing the chaotic state of his cultivation meridians, they panicked. Hou Xiaomei was on the verge of tears, and hurriedly helped Bai Xiaochun back to his cave dwelling. Song Junwan quickly took out some medicinal herbs and fed them to Bai Xiaochun. On two nearby mountains, the Song family's patriarch and Tai Muzin both witnessed this scene and sighed sympathetically. You wretched boy, how can such good fortune be so easily enjoyed? Back then, I understood this principle and severed all ties, not letting myself be burdened. The Song family patriarch lamented, and Tai Muzin nodded. The karmic entanglement of love. Back then, I also angrily severed that karmic entanglement. Now that I think about it, I can no longer remember the faces of those beautiful women from the past. The two old men looked at each other, feeling a sense of empathy for the first time, sighing and shaking their heads, vaguely recalling past events. A few days later, Bai Xiaochun opened his eyes, looked around, and saw his pale, haggard face in the mirror, his expression darkening. After a long while, he sighed, intending to go outside to breathe some fresh air to calm himself down and think about what he should do. This can't go on like this. I'll be teased to death. Bai Xiaochun sighed, pushing the door open to go out, but his whole body froze. You too. Bai Xiaochun broke out in a cold sweat again, because outside the door, Song Junwan and Hou Xiaomei had arrived, one on each side, smiling at him. Yi Zhang, let's go out and play. Song Junwan said gently. Xiaochun brother, this time I won't make you call me by my bird name anymore. Hou Xiaomei said wearily. Their eyes, seemingly indifferent, stared intently at his feet. Bai Xiaochun's hair stood on end. He now understood that these two demonesses considered him their target of rivalry, to the point where they wanted to see whether he stepped out with his left or right foot first. It was truly terrifying. These two demonesses were not human. He trembled, not daring to go out. Both of you, I'm suddenly very tired. I'm not going anymore. Bai Xiaochun forced a smile and stepped back. Song Junwan's eyes blazed with killing intent, while Hou Xiaomei's eyes were red and teary, looking pitifully at Bai Xiaochun. One was filled with killing intent, the other with self-pity. Bai Xiaochun was going crazy. He had just managed to suppress the spiritual power within him, and now he had to forcibly force it into chaos again. He spat out blood, his vision darkened, and he fainted. This time, before losing consciousness, Bai Xiaochun didn't sigh, but tears welled up in his eyes. 2 days later, late at night, Bai Xiaochun lay on his bed, wearily opening his eyes, his gaze vacant, silently weeping. How wonderful my younger sister used to be. Whatever I said, she did. But now, Song Junwan used to always indulge me. I only needed to make a move and she'd subdue me. But now, with both of them together, why have they become so terrifying? Bai Xiaochun recalled the good times he had with them, his heart aching even more. No, if this continues, I'll definitely die. I'll definitely be toyed with to death, tortured to death, those to have gone crazy. First they're comparing who takes the medicine, then who they are. Now they're even comparing whose foot goes out first. Later, they might even compare which eye I open first, which hand I raise first. I can't stay here any longer. These two demons are too terrifying. I've already spat blood twice. If I spat again, my life will be over. Bai Xiaochun gritted his teeth. I must go to the battlefield. Going to the battlefield, I might not necessarily die, but staying here, sooner or later, I'll be driven mad. Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath, his determination to go to the battlefield becoming more intense than ever. He wanted to leave the Luochen mountain range immediately, not wanting to stay another second. He immediately stood up, his expression full of determination, his aura completely changing. No longer weak, but powerful and fierce, he quickly prepared his luggage, then pushed open the door and swept his spiritual sense around. It was late at night, the sky was full of dark clouds, and the surroundings were quiet, only the occasional sounds of birds and animals from afar could be heard. Bai Xiaochun cautiously observed his surroundings, confirming that Song Jianwan and Hou Xiaomei were not nearby, then rushed out, his speed reaching its limit. Wings appeared on his back, making no sound as he sped straight towards the Song family's ancestor and Taimazin. Moving with incredible speed, yet without a sound, so as not to alarm Song Jianwan and Hou Xiaomei, he solemnly stepped forward, his entire demeanor serious, his head held high as he declared, Bai Xiaochun, a disciple of the Lingxi sect's lineage and blood son of the Bloodstream sect, pays his respects to the two ancestors. The Song family's ancestor and Taimazin opened their eyes, looking at Bai Xiaochun, both finding his appearance strange. Foster father ancestor, I am the blood son of Zhangfeng, a Lingxi sect's lineage disciple. I should contribute to the sect. I want to go to the battlefield and kill enemies, Bai Xiaochun said solemnly. The Song family's ancestor and Taimazin looked at him strangely, the Song family's ancestor speaking first. Aren't you still injured? Foster father, compared to making a great contribution to the sect, what are those small injuries? Bai Xiaochun laughed. In the life of a cultivator, who can go their whole life without getting injured? The most important thing is whether those injuries are worth it. I'm injured because I have to protect the sect. Bai Xiaochun was full of vigor. If you didn't know him, you would definitely be moved by his righteous and unwavering spirit, thinking he was a true hero, unafraid of death. The battlefield is very dangerous. You could lose your life, aren't you afraid? Taimazin said slowly. Bai Xiaochun smiled and patted his chest. I'm a man. I must show my passion on the battlefield. I'm a member of the sect. How can I watch my fellow disciples slaughter each other while I stay comfortably behind? That's not Bai Xiaochun's way. And it's not the style of my night burial sect. To ancestors, please don't try to persuade me any further. I must go to the battlefield. Bai Xiaochun was resolute, his aura unwavering. Good, this is my adopted son. This is the teleportation token. Take this token, and tomorrow, go to the teleportation array to enter the Zhuangxi sect's encampment. The Song family's ancestor looked at Taimazin, and the two nodded slightly, smiling. He threw a token to Bai Xiaochun. Bai Xiaochun accepted it and smiled. Why wait until tomorrow? I'm already eager to kill the enemy. Even if it's still nighttime, I'll go to the teleportation array immediately, enter the battlefield, and contribute to our two sects. Bai Xiaochun flicked his sleeve and flew towards the teleportation array. He arrived very quickly. Before long, the array's radiance instantly brightened, becoming particularly clear in the darkness. The imposing figure of Bai Xiaochun gradually became indistinct. The Song family's ancestor and Taimazin looked at each other and smiled, both finding each other more pleasing to the eye than before. Zibing Zhuangxi sect, located in Tiangong continent, bordered Dengxi sect. Years of war had devastated Tiangong continent, leaving the land riddled with craters created by magical techniques. Many places were devastated by broken formations and chaotic spiritual energy, turning them into desolate wastelands. Finally, they managed to suppress Dengxi sect, seizing more than half of its territory. Perhaps the alliance between Lingxi sect and Zhuangxi sect had shifted the tide of the battle. Dengxi sect was in a desperate situation, its annihilation imminent, yet it continued to struggle, refusing to surrender. Mountains crumbled everywhere, lakes dried up, entire mountain ranges crumbled, and countless cultivators were buried. The sky also changed, no longer clear blue, but gray. After the arrival of Lingxi sect and Zhuangxi sect, more than half the sky turned a swirling blood-red color, and a vast area was filled with a white sun. For the Lingxi sect and the Zhuangxi sect, Although they claimed to be merging, with Bai Xiaochun as the connecting link, they still harbored prejudice against each other. After all, they had been rivals for so many years, and this mutual distrust was intense. If war hadn't broken out, this merger would have been nothing more than a joke, impossible to sustain for long, shattering within a few days. But because war had occurred, it became a possibility. The disciples of both sides were tempered by war, gradually adapting to each other. As for the Zhuangzi sect, when the Zhuangzi and Lingxi sect attacked, they were completely unprepared. Therefore, for them, this was truly a nightmare, especially since they were still in the unstable process of merging with the Dangxi sect. The arrival of the Zhuangzi and Lingxi sects was like two sharp knives piercing the heart of the Zhuangzi sect. In just a few short months, the Zhuangzi sect suffered immense losses. Nearly 6/10 of the entire Tianhuang continent was occupied, and 17 of its mountain gates were breached. Unlike other sects, the Zhuangzi sect didn't just have one mountain gate, but 29, scattered throughout the Tianhuang continent like a vast net, controlling the entire continent. At this time, the war had spread to the central region of the Tianhuang continent, where battles of varying sizes raged daily. Explosions could be heard from far away, and the ground shook. With the Lingxi sect and the Zhuangzi sect allied, the Zhuangzi sect lacked sufficient defenders and could only rely on its mountain gates defensive system. From this war, countless prodigies, forged through bloodshed and hardship, emerged. Ghost Feng, Shangguan Tianyu, Zhou Xinqi, Gong Xinyan, Hou Yangfei, Lu Tianli Songqiu, Su Xiushan, Gulai, Shen Xuanzi. Each of them was renowned and illustrious. Zhu Mei, although not participating in the Lingxi sect's war, joined the attack on Tiagongjiu, wielding 9 times the power of the peak earth vein tide, causing chaos and upheaval. Even more surprising was someone who defied all expectations, killing many, to the point that even her fellow disciples were terrified. Gongsun Waner. Her fellow cultivators were no match for her. She even fought against the supreme elder of Zhuangzi sect, causing fear in the Bloodzi sect and shaking the Lingxi sect. Similarly, the Zhuangzi sect also boasts exceptionally talented geniuses, and Jiu Dao is one of them. Compared to his time in the eternal sword abyss, Jiu Dao is now far more mature. This battle has made his name famous, establishing him as a pillar disciple of the Zhuangzi sect. The Dangxi sect also has a genius, named Lin Mu, who cultivates the ancient elixir seed Dao technique. He left the Dangxi sect and was taken as a disciple by the Nine Heavens ancestor of the Zhuangzi sect. He and Jiu Dao are the 2 brightest stars of the Zhuangzi sect. Among the remaining members of the Dangxi sect, there is also a woman named Shen Manyao, whose poison cultivation surpasses even Feng Lin, and whose illusion body technique surpasses even Zhou Ryu. In the battle, she single-handedly held off an opposing Supreme Elder, achieving great accomplishments. And now, on the battlefield, another new star has emerged. The name of this star is known to everyone, unforgettable and unmistakable, for he is Bai Xiaochun. Although he hadn't appeared on the battlefield before, hadn't achieved glorious feats like others, and hadn't killed anyone, his name was unparalleled compared to those other shining stars. Because the things he did shocked everyone who heard about them. Zhang Fengzuezi, Blood Lord of the Bloodstream sect, a descendant on the inheritance list, the young ancestor of the Lingxi sect. He single-handedly changed the course of the war between the 2 sects, using himself as the connecting thread to unite them, single-handedly orchestrating the war to annihilate the Zhuangzi sect. His presence unconsciously surpassed all the other prodigies. While the others were busy trying to compete and earn merit, Bai Xiaochun stood at the highest point, waving his hand to change the direction of the war. Upon hearing the news of Bai Xiaochun's appearance, Jiu Dao roared with rage, hating Bai Xiaochun to the point of madness. Lin Mu, after hearing the news, went into seclusion for several days. When he emerged from seclusion, he said he would give Bai Xiaochun a grand gift. Far from the front lines, in what was once the mountain gate of the Zhuangzi sect, a pillar of light blazed, the light of a teleportation array. Outside the array, the cultivators of the Lingxi sect and the Zhuangzi sect stationed there all turned to look, their eyes vigilant, ready to report any sign of trouble. Bei Hanli, Shen Xuanzi, and Gulai were also there. They were supposed to be on the front lines, but had been brought back here due to injuries. These 3 were at odds with each other, constantly vying for credit. Seeing the teleportation array light up, their eyes lit up. Shen Xuanzi prepared his hand gestures, Bei Hanli's eyes flashed with cold light, and Gulai narrowed his eyes, his foundation establishment great perfection cultivation level fluctuating. This was because a month earlier, Zhuangzi sect cultivators, somehow having manipulated the teleportation array, had launched a counterattack. But this time, only one person appeared in the teleportation light. This person gradually became clear, causing the cultivators of both sects to widen their eyes. Uncle Bai. Night Burial Blood Sun. Gulai trembled, his hand, which was performing the incantation of the divine calculator, froze. Bai Hanlai let out a frustrated cold snort. Bai Xiaochun emerged, and the cultivators of both sects bowed in reverence. Greetings, young ancestor. Greetings, blood lord. Bai Xiaochun's expression was solemn. He looked up at the blood-red sky, feeling the stench of blood in the wind, and breathed a sigh of relief, feeling as if he had returned to the vastness of the sky and sea, finally escaping the nightmare. He assumed a dignified posture, adopting the bearing of a senior, and glanced around. How was the battle? Bai Xiaochun spoke indifferently, an invisible aura emanating from him. The disciples of both sects' eyes blazed with fervent admiration, each vying to report their achievements. Bai Xiaochun listened for a while, gaining some understanding. From afar, a rainbow streaked across the sky, carrying a supreme elder of the Lingxi sect. He quickly arrived and looked at Bai Xiaochun. The ancestor has commanded that young ancestor Bai Xiaochun lead a team of cultivators to sweep the rear of the battlefield, eliminating any remaining remnants of the Zhuangzi sect in the area. You have the right to act as you see fit, but you must not make any mistakes. Bai Xiaochun had met the supreme elder once before, and upon hearing this, he immediately understood that this was an extremely easy task, not requiring him to go to the front lines, meaning the level of danger wouldn't be high. Moreover, in this occupied area, everyone was one of his own. The remnants of the Zhuangzi sect had nowhere left to hide. This task was clearly specifically assigned to him. No. Bai Xiaochun was inwardly delighted, but his face remained serious, his eyes resolute. Zhang Feng's Wezi, boundless magical power. Lingxi Tianmai, awe-inspiring in all directions. I came here to go to the front lines to kill the enemy. How could I do such trivial things? Bai Xiaochun was full of imposing aura, his voice resounding, making everyone look at him with even more enthusiasm. Only the three people, including Bai Hanli, secretly cursed in their hearts, knowing Bai Xiaochun's true nature all too well. The supreme elder hesitated, staring at Bai Xiaochun for a while before speaking. Young ancestor, this is the ancestor's order. Besides, compared to sweeping the battlefield, securing the rear is also extremely important. Bai Xiaochun chuckled inwardly, but still pretended to refuse again. The supreme elder had to persuade him a few more times before he finally agreed. In fact, the supreme elder had intended to give up and not persuade him anymore, but he let out a slightly impatient tone. Unexpectedly, Bai Xiaochun changed his tone to agree. All right, to avoid embarrassing you, I accept. Bai Xiaochun gritted his teeth, his face showing dissatisfaction, and he flew out, shouting loudly, "Who agrees to go with me, the young ancestor, and the blood lord to sweep the battlefield and uphold the prestige of our two sects?" As soon as he finished asking, the people around him all clamored in response. I am willing to follow the blood lord. Young ancestor, give me a spot. Uncle Bai, I'll go too. In an instant, more than half of the hundreds of people present wanted to join. A bloodstream sect central peak cultivator summoned a giant blood sword, controlling it to fly into the air, growing to several hundred feet in size, its aura overwhelming. Bai Hanli recoiled, Shen Xuanzi trembled and retreated, and Galai, having already developed a fear of Bai Xiaochun during the blood trial, also retreated without hesitation, afraid of being seen by Bai Xiaochun. Bai Xiaochun laughed heartily, stepping onto the blood sword. He waved his right hand, and countless demons hovering around him flew forward to protect him. Even zombies flew in, and disciples of the Bloodstream sect and Spirit Stream sect swarmed out, surrounding him. Bai Xiaochun, full of vigor, stood on the great sword, a half-smile playing on his lips as he looked down and shouted, Bai Hanli, Shen Xuanzi, Gulai, you three, why are you hiding from me? Come here and complete the mission with me. Bai Hanli, Shen Xuanzi, and Gulai trembled, inwardly lamenting their misfortune. They wanted to refuse, but the ancestors' order clearly stated that Bai Xiaochun had the right to command cultivators. He had the right to force anyone he saw to join his ranks. Bai Hanli tried to refuse, but before he could utter a single word, Bai Xiaoqun glared at him. I have the ancestors' decree. Bai Hanli gritted his teeth, flying out to stand beside Bai Zikun, extremely frustrated. Shan Xuanzi and Gulai also sighed, knowing they couldn't escape and had to fly out to join the ranks. That's more like it. Let's go. Bai Zikun laughed heartily, flicking his sleeve. The greatsword under his feet roared, and a group of several hundred people rushed forward. Bai Zikun had never felt so proud before. He sat cross-legged on the greatsword, looking at the demons around him, the corpse puppets, the cultivators of the two sects, and especially the frustrated faces of Bai Hanli and the other two. He felt extremely pleased. Choosing to go to the battlefield was indeed the right decision. Back in Lingxi sect and Zuxi sect, I never had such a show of force. I never expected to achieve my wish now. Bai Zikun excitedly stood up, pointing straight ahead. Nephews, let's sweep through the Zhuangxi sect together. Bai Xiaoqun enthusiastically exclaimed. Beside him was a disciple of the Bloodstream sect. This quick-witted disciple, seeing Bai Xiaoqun's joyful and excited expression, stepped forward and shouted, Central Peak Blood Sun, boundless magical power. His sudden shout stunned everyone. Bai Xiaoqun was also surprised and looked at him, making him feel awkward. Seeing everyone looking at him, he couldn't help but feel embarrassed. He wanted to flatter him, but made a mistake. While he was still thinking about how to correct it, Bai Xiaoqun threw his head back and laughed loudly. Don't say that again. I'm an upright person. I don't like such flattering and exaggerated words. This pill, I'll give it to you. Bai Xiaoqun said proudly, his words clearly showing that he wished the other person would say a few more. His eyes full of encouragement as he gave the Bloodstream sect disciple a third-tier spiritual pill. The Bloodstream sect disciple, his heart pounding with excitement, saw the encouragement in Bai Xiaoqun's eyes, his courage soaring. He shouted, this is the truth from my heart, not flattery. Zhongfeng Blood Sun, boundless power. The surrounding Bloodstream sect disciples widened their eyes, seeing Bai Xiaoqun bestow a spiritual medicine upon them. Their faces flushed with pride, and no one yielded, shouting, Zhongfeng Blood Sun, boundless power. Over 100 voices clamored, making Bai Xiaoqun overjoyed. Outwardly, he maintained his composure, coughing incessantly, but still rewarding every single one. Therefore, the over 100 Spirit Stream sect disciples, displeased, glared angrily at the Bloodstream sect disciples, their hearts filled with resentment. They also shouted, Spirit Stream Heavenly Vein, awe-inspiring power. Bai Xiaoqun's excitement reached its limit. His whole body trembled, his eyes shining brightly. He potted his storage bag, pulling out a pile of spiritual medicines. The disciples of both Spirit Stream and Bloodstream sect swarmed around him. They continued flying forward, constantly letting out deafening roars that shook the heavens. Zhongfeng Zuezi, boundless magical power. Lingxi Tianmai, awe-inspiring in all directions. Only the three of them, including Bai Hanli, continued to grit their teeth, their contempt for Bai Xiaoqun growing. They kept their mouths shut, unable to bear this nauseating flattery. Even if they died, they would never speak. Be humble. You must be humble. Bai Xiaoqun became even more smug, but realizing he needed to appear humble, he quickly waved his hand, and the crowd continued on their way. Before long, they arrived at a mountain valley. In this valley lived a cultivation family that had once belonged to the Zhuangxi sect. During the war between the two sects, they were utterly defeated and chose to surrender, but they still felt a sense of resentment. Outwardly they complied, but inwardly they harbored deep hatred for the Zhuangxi sect and Lingxi sect. Currently, in the valley, the ancestors and clan members of that cultivation family were discussing countermeasures. This Lingxi sect is outrageous. They once signed an alliance with the Zhuangxi sect, and now they've betrayed it. HMPH and the Bloodstream sect too, a bunch of demonic cultivators, bloodthirsty by nature, they'll be punished by heaven sooner or later. In the main hall, several people, filled with indignation, were cursing incessantly when suddenly an astonishing pressure surged forth. Those here, come out and pay your respects to my blood son. A cold voice echoed, causing the cultivators in the hall to change color. The family's patriarch, a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator, raised his head and hurried out, followed by the others in the hall. They saw a huge, crimson sword in the sky, surrounded by hundreds of cultivators from the Bloodstream sect and Lingxi sect. Bai Xiaochun stood on the great sword, and the surrounding crowd roared loudly. Central Peak Blood Sun, boundless power. Lingxi Heavenly Vein, your might shakes the 8 directions. The members of the Cultivation clan were stunned, staring blankly. Bai Xiaochun lowered his head, sweeping his gaze across the valley. His mission was to wipe out the remaining remnants of the Zhuangxi sect. This wasn't a blind, reckless task. He had a jade slip containing 37 locations of Cultivation clans. According to the Lingxi sect's investigation, these 37 Cultivation clans all had problems and needed to be purged. How to do it, kill them or spare them, was left to Bai Xiaochun's discretion. Moreover, this jade slip had an advantage. The holder could determine whether there were any remaining Zhuangxi sect remnants based on the vibrations of their cultivation techniques. Greetings, Blood Sun. Seeing the large and powerful group of people arriving, the members of the Cultivation clan suppressed their emotions, took a deep breath, and bowed towards the sky. Bai Xiaochun did not respond. The Tongshan Dharma in his forehead opened, sweeping across the valley, penetrating all the protective barriers. They found a palace underground in the mountain valley. Inside the palace, 7 or 8 people were sitting cross-legged, tending to their injuries. Although Bai Xiaochun had never met these 7 or 8 people before, their injuries, their clothes, and especially the vibrations from their cultivation techniques caused the jade slip in Bai Xiaochun's hand to radiate a glow, letting him know immediately that they were all members of the Zhuangxi sect. Bai Xiaochun remained silent. Although he had undergone training at the Bloodstream sect, he found it difficult to commit such a brutal act of murder. The number of cultivators in this cultivation family was dwindling, and those in the underground palace were also injured. With a single command from Bai Xiaochun, everyone, including the remaining cultivators of this cultivation family and the remnants of the Zhuangxi sect, would be instantly annihilated. After a moment of silence, Bai Xiaochun looked at the people in the valley and suddenly spoke. You have chosen to submit to our 2 sects. Why do you need to do this? As he spoke, the heaven-penetrating Dharma on his forehead suddenly emitted a dazzling light, like the sun. A powerful controlling force from the heaven-penetrating Dharma eye shot straight into the underground palace. 7 or 8 members of the Zhuangxi sect in the underground palace, already severely injured, suddenly trembled. Despite their desperate resistance, veins bulging, they couldn't resist. Each of them instinctively raised their right hand and, without hesitation, struck their own heads forcefully. Bang bang, the entire group of 7 or 8 spat out fresh blood, dying instantly. Only one old man managed to break free from their grip, his expression one of intense terror, blood gushing from the corner of his mouth, and he transformed into a rainbow and fled at lightning speed. This scene unfolded so suddenly that the entire cultivation family's expressions changed drastically, especially the family's patriarch, whose face turned pale and his body swayed precariously. The old man from the Zhuangxi sect hadn't gone far when Gulai pursued him, and soon after, the sounds of agonizing screams echoed from afar. Gulai, leading the old man, returned to Bai Xiaochun's side, his eyes filled with bloodlust as he looked at everyone in the valley, licking his lips. It wasn't just Gulai, the cultivators from both sects were all the same. The valley was completely silent. Everyone in this cultivation family was utterly despairing and bitter. This war doesn't distinguish right from wrong, only differing viewpoints. This time is a warning. Following our 2 sects might not be a bad choice. Bai Xiaochun slowly opened his mouth, flicking his sleeve, and stepped onto the blood sword and departed. Hundreds of other cultivators around also coldly watched this cultivation family, then flew after him. Only after confirming Bai Xiaochun's departure did the entire cultivation family feel as if they had just taken a stroll around the gates of hell, causing them to tremble. After a moment of silence, the family's mid-stage foundation establishment ancestor, after a brief moment of bewilderment, quickly made a decision. This person, he must be the legendary Bai Xiaochun indeed, a genius of his generation. With just a glance, he killed everyone in the Zhuangxi sect, and yet, he treated us with leniency, both threatening and enticing us. Not only did he not offend anyone, but they even felt grateful to him, the old man thought to himself as he saw many of his clansmen looking at Bai Xiaochun with grateful eyes. Haha, with such cunning tactics, this guy will surely rise to the top in one fell swoop. Suddenly, the old man turned around, raising his right hand and slashing a sword straight at 3 people among the clansmen. These 3 couldn't defend themselves, their bodies severed. My Han Young clan will henceforth follow the Lingxi sect and the Zushi sect, Killing these three is a warning to anyone who dares to meddle with the Zhuangzi sect. If I hadn't stopped the war between the Lingxi sect and the Zuxi sect, I fear I would have ended up like them, hunted down by the Zhuangzi sect. Bai Xiaochun, lost in thought, suddenly noticed the cultivators of both sects looking at him with strange eyes. Because of Bai Xiaochun's handling of the remnants of the Zhuangzi sect and the Han Yang clan, everyone now not only admired him but also held him in high regard. Even Bei Han Lai, as well as Gulai and Shen Xuanzi, showed strange expressions when they looked at Bai Xiaochun. Bai Xiaochun smiled, took a deep breath, and knew he was still growing. There were some things, whether he wanted to or not, that he had to do to protect his loved ones and his sect. My strength is limited. Although I can't save the common people, I will definitely do what I can for my sect, my family. And my friends. A profound look appeared in Bai Xiaochun's eyes as he stepped on the blood sword, his speed increasing dramatically. Wherever he went, the heavens and earth rumbled, and the sounds of the surrendering families could be heard from afar. Whenever he encountered a cultivator from the Zhuangzi sect, hundreds of people from all sides would immediately attack and annihilate them without Bai Xiaochun even having to lift a finger. As for the other cultivation families, Bai Xiaochun didn't treat them all the same. He would observe them before dealing with them. They would either end up like the Han Yan family or be completely wiped out. Only in this way could they create a threat, ensure a solid rear base, and guarantee the war on the front lines, allowing everything to move forward. However, as news spread, the cultivation clans were all preparing, making the search for the remaining remnants of the Zhuangzi sect even more difficult. Unless they stopped distinguishing between good and evil and launched a direct, forceful attack, doing so repeatedly would cause the rear base to collapse. After all, the strength of these cultivation clans could not be underestimated, because if they were weak, they would not have been able to withstand the sweeping army of the two sects. Defeating the Zhuangzi sect was not the key issue. What was important for Lingxi and Zuexi was to seize and integrate them to develop themselves. When they repeatedly passed three cultivation clans that had sealed their mountain gates and received no response no matter what Bai Xiaochun said, he became extremely angry. Fortunately, these cultivation families, despite their isolation, still gave Bai Xiaochun some material possessions, which somewhat appeased him. Bai Xiaochun looked at the jade slip in his hand with a troubled expression. According to it, the key mission was to investigate the 6 cultivation families, all of whom had solid evidence that they had not only secretly harbored remnants of the Zhuangzi sect, but also harbored malicious intentions. I can't understand what those ancestors were thinking. If they had solid evidence, why didn't they just directly send people to eliminate them? Bai Xiaochun pondered for a moment, then his eyes suddenly lit up. Damn it, I understand now. Why was I so slow to figure this out? Clearly, the ancestors were rewarding me, giving me the opportunity to plunder their wealth once I plundered. Someone else will clean up after me. Haha, that must be it. Thinking this, Bai Xiaochun felt that he had been incredibly foolish before. Actually believing this was a mission. Those old ancestors are really something. If it's a reward, just say so directly. Why be so vague? Bai Xiaochun said smugly, leading several hundred people, and headed straight to the next cultivation family. A day later, a verdant mountain appeared before everyone, vaguely shimmering with the light of a protective formation. Xuanguang family, I, Bai Xiaochun, have come on orders, seeing that the family on this mountain was also sealed off like the others. Bai Xiaochun understood implicitly and arrogantly opened his mouth to hint at something. Unexpectedly, before he could finish speaking, a loud explosion resounded, and a gigantic figure appeared on the mountain. Although the giant's eyes were closed, a voice echoed, Bai Xiaochun, my Xuanguang family has sealed its mountain gate. You are not welcome here. A thunderous roar echoed everywhere, and the giant slowly shrank and disappeared. The entire mountain returned to its previous state, the protective formations light shimmering. Having his words interrupted, Bai Xiaochun was slightly displeased. But thinking of the treasure he was about to obtain, Bai Xiaochun suppressed his anger, cleared his throat, and said, I know you've sealed off the mountain gate, and I can't just make this trip in vain, so you get out. Before Bai Xiaochun could finish, a roar erupted from within the Zhuangguang clan. Ah! Bai Xiaochun was stunned. The other party's reaction was completely different from other clans. Especially since they dared to interrupt him again, this thoroughly enraged him. You dare to insult me. I'm not an unreasonable person. We're so many people, we've traveled a long distance, and you. Get out! At this moment, the voice on the mountain grew even more furious, shouting loudly, "Damn it!" Having been interrupted 3 times in a row, Bai Xiaochun's anger burned. Not only were they not allowed to enter for inspection, not given any gifts, but they even dared to insult him. My fellow disciples, if the enemy is cunning, then we must be 100 times more cunning. Otherwise, this mission will surely fail. Bai Xiaochun said angrily, looking at everyone. The 3 of them, including Bei Hanli, inwardly sneered, watching to see how Bai Xiaochun would handle it. This formation of the Zhuanguang clan is a concentrated force of an entire mountain. If we want to break it, it will be difficult to do so in a short time. Forcing it will affect the rear. Do you have any other options? Bei Hanli said indifferently. The others were also troubled, looking at Bai Xiaochun. Bai Xiaochun was also worried, feeling that the ancestor had already bestowed rewards. So why was it still so difficult? While deep in thought, he suddenly gritted his teeth. If they are so arrogant, I will refine medicine. As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding cultivators all trembled, some even gasping in shock. Chaos even broke out. In an instant, hundreds of people retreated about 10 meters, moving away from Bai Xiaochun. The 3 men, including Bei Hanli, were the fastest. Upon hearing that Bai Xiaochun wanted to refine medicine, their expressions changed drastically, and they quickly retreated. Bai Xiaochun was stunned, scratching his head, his face full of resentment as he looked at everyone. What are you all doing? I'm just completing the mission. Besides, I'm very good at alchemy. Bai Xiaochun quickly coughed, and everyone's expressions changed again. This time, many people began to try and dissuade him. Uncle Bai, this alchemy, maybe we should just give up. Lord Bloodsun, please spare this family. Everyone was trying to stop him. Even the divine calculator couldn't help but speak up. No, I don't believe they dare not open the door. Bai Xiaochun snorted coldly, raising his right hand and taking out the alchemy furnace. Upon seeing the alchemy furnace, the expressions of the 2 sex cultivators on all sides changed drastically, and they retreated even further. Bai Xiaochun stared at the Zhuanguang family, let out a cold laugh, and threw countless herbs into the furnace, beginning to refine medicine. The entire group of cultivators behind him continuously retreated, trembling with fear. Although they all showed awe, many were also anticipating the exciting scene that was about to unfold. This Zhuanguang family is doomed. They dared to provoke the demon of warmth. You don't know. But when Bai Xiaochun was refining medicine for the Lingxi sect, thunder roared and acid rain filled the sky. How could we not know? When he was at the Bloodstream sect, he almost destroyed Shaozhe Peak. With Bai Xiaochun's current mastery of alchemy, and with the furnace and herbs readily available, he quickly began refining a batch of spirit medicine. According to his memory, this elixir was the same hallucinogenic gas he had once used to create the death wind. After a day, Bai Xiaochun's eyes turned bloodshot and ferocious, and the alchemy furnace trembled, emitting a wisp of black gas. Seeing this black gas, the disciples behind him all gasped, their minds unsettled, and they retreated even further. Even within the Zhuanguang clan, many were nervous. They had heard of Bai Xiaochun's reputation as a warm demon. Having never seen such an attack before, they were extremely wary. After a moment, Bai Xiaochun tilted his head back and roared, slamming his hands against the alchemy furnace. A cloud of black mist appeared, and he flicked his sleeve, sending it directly towards the Zhuanguang clan's mountain gate. This dark mist wasn't dense. Upon contact with the protective light barrier, it only slightly distorted it, while more than half of the mist itself was blocked, only managing to penetrate a tiny wisp before quickly dissipating. Compared to the entire mountain, one wisp of dark mist penetrating was insignificant. While Bai Xiaochun was feeling dejected, mocking voices came from inside. I thought the reputation of the demon of warmth was something to be reckoned with, but it turns out it's nothing special. It's probably just a facade. Bai Xiaochun, although our Zhuanguang family has submitted to the Bloodstream sect, it's not a place where you can arbitrarily plunder our wealth. Your status doesn't qualify for us to open our mountain gate. Come back when you've reached the golden core stage. Get out of here. The laughter provoked Bai Xiaochun. He raised his head, staring intently at the mountain gate, his eyes gleaming. 1 ray isn't enough, then 100 rays, hundreds of rays. Under such circumstances, Bai Xiaochun felt utterly humiliated. At this moment, he completely lost his composure, raising his right hand and continuing to refine the medicine. This time, when the black mist appeared, Bai Xiaochun didn't rush back to the mountain sect, but instead chanted a spell, forming a light sphere to absorb it. With his cultivation level now elevated, Bai Xiaochun could control it, preventing the energy from dissipating. This light sphere could be used as a container for reuse. As soon as the light sphere appeared, he continued to absorb the black mist. Very quickly, the light sphere was full of black mist, and Bai Xiaochun threw it towards Gulai, who was standing behind the hundreds of people. Take it! Bai Xiaochun didn't even turn around, continuing his refining, regardless of Gulai's trembling heart. In just 5 days, he had refined several hundred such light spheres. These light spheres all contained the hallucinogenic black mist, and all of them were thrown to the cultivators of the 2 sects behind him. After everyone had gathered enough light spheres, Bai Xiaochun, with bloodshot eyes, looked towards the Zhuanguang clan, raised his right hand, and shouted, "Throw them at me! Zhuanguang clan, if you dare, don't leave!" As Bai Xiaochun spoke, the entire group of cultivators behind him threw the light spheres that had been haunting them for days with all their might. In an instant, hundreds of light spheres flew straight towards the Zhuanguang clan's formation. When these light spheres hit the formation, they all exploded, creating a force that tore a hole in the formation. Although this hole quickly closed, a large amount of black mist had already seeped in. Immediately, cries of alarm came from the mountain, but soon fell silent. Bai Xiaochun's eyes widened as he looked at the Zhuanguang clan. Behind him, hundreds of people, including the 3 people including Bei Hanli, were all in the same state. This was the first time the group had played this alchemy game with Bai Xiaochun, so everyone was filled with anticipation. Not long after, in the midst of the silence, a burst of maniacal laughter suddenly erupted from the mountain range. Not only that, but there were also cries, laughter, shouts, and all sorts of unimaginable sounds. Just hearing the sound sent shivers down the spines of the people around Bei Hanli, and the cultivators from both sects took deep breaths. Especially the disciples of the Bloodstream sect, who were reminded of Shai Feng's tragic fate. Among them were also Shai Feng's disciples, their hearts filled with complex emotions and memories. 3 days later, the Zhuanguang family surrendered unconditionally, opening their gates to welcome Bai Xiaochun and offering him immense wealth. All the clan members looked at Bai Xiaochun with fear. These 3 days were something they would never dare to remember for the rest of their lives, when Mo's reputation in Tiaogong continent was established for the first time, spreading far and wide unexpectedly. The cultivators of the 2 sects beside him were all extremely eager, even infatuated, with Bai Xiaochun's terrifying divine abilities. Even Bei Hanli, Shen Xuanzi, and Gulai were extremely tempted. Bai Xiaochun was generous and open-minded. After acquiring wealth, he distributed it to all his followers. Now, seeing everyone's desire for his unique divine abilities, he was overjoyed and frequently refined them, causing hundreds of people to each possess 3 to 5 protective light spheres inside these spheres. Some contained acid rain, hallucinatory black mist, some summoned heavenly lightning, and some even caused diarrhea. As time passed, the entire group was gradually influenced by Bai Xiaochun. Even the 3 of them, including Bei Hanli, were unknowingly led astray. Very quickly, 2 months later, Bai Xiaochun and the disciples of the 2 sects suffered casualties. Especially a month ago, while investigating a family, they found quite a few disciples of the Zhuangxi sect, and even a nearly completed teleportation formation. Once the formation was complete, the frontline cultivators of the Zhuangxi sect could be teleported there, causing serious consequences for the rear. In that battle, Bai Xiaochun took action, throwing out countless light spheres, then taking advantage of the enemy's weakness to engage in close-quarters combat. The places he passed through were shocking. It was truly an earth-shattering battle. His name, even without going to the front lines, was now like the midday sun in the rear, his reputation soaring. Especially in this battle, his fame spread not only to Bai Xiaochun alone, but also to the cultivators of the 2 sects beside him. From a distance, he directly threw out light spheres, causing terrifying events for the enemy, and then, like Bai Xiaochun, they all charged in, transforming into bloodthirsty killers, rampaging and slaughtering the enemy. The more they fought, the more fervent their admiration for Bai Xiaochun became. They had officially fallen in love with this fighting style. Before they knew it, their sweeping mission was almost complete, and the whole group was nearing the front lines. After 2 months of fighting alongside Bai Xiaochun, the hundreds of disciples from both sects had undergone a dramatic transformation. Not only were their bags overflowing with spoils of war, but the relationships between the disciples of the two sects had also become much more harmonious. They were even seen laughing and joking with each other, discussing coordinated combat strategies, how to throw light balls, and how to kill. This kind of harmony would have been impossible a few months earlier, even for the Lingxi or Swexi sects. Yet, it was now a reality before Bai Xiaochun's eyes. Even the three of them, including Bei Hanli, who usually displayed a cold smile, now felt a strange feeling towards Bai Xiaochun. Bei Hanli, in particular, looked at them. They were just a group of injured cultivators patched together. But now, although they have reached the Cha condensation and foundation establishment stages, and sometimes even feel a little panicked, their combat power is already strong enough. He had been on the front lines before, so he understood clearly that with this level of combat power, they were even more formidable than the elite troops at the front. He especially liked this kind of fighting style. He was certain of one thing: if these people were sent to the front lines, everyone would be shocked. And all these changes were because of Bai Xiaochun. With the capture of the Heavenly Craftsman's Pearl, the war between the Blood Spirit sect and the Zhuangzi sect intensified. The Zhuangzi sect had 29 mountain gates, but 28 had already been captured. Therefore, the Zhuangzi sect was left with only one last crucial mountain gate, situated between Zhuangzi and Dangxi, serving as a crucial defense. From afar, it appeared to be an enormous mountain range, even larger than the Luochun mountain range. The Zhuangzi sect's final mountain gate lay in the middle of this mountain range. The mountain range itself seemed to have been cleaved into by a colossal giant wielding an axe, creating a massive chasm. The Zhuangzi sect's ancestors spared no effort in transforming this chasm into a magnificent fortress. The final stronghold of the Zhuangzi sect is this fortress. It can hold several hundred people and is surrounded by numerous formations. Now, all the cultivators of the Zhuangzi sect have gathered here, turning it into their final battlefield. More than 2 months ago, the armies of the Lingxi and Swexi sects arrived here and launched a fierce attack. Adding to this, the remnants of the Dangxi sect were harassing them from behind, but the Swexi sect still managed to hold out with the ultimate goal of making the Starry Sky Dao Extreme sect lose patience with the Lingxi and Swexi sects. After all, the longer this battle drags on, the better it will be for their attack on the Central Void River Academy. Therefore, from beginning to end, the ancestors of the two sects have agreed that this battle must be won quickly. Currently, they are only being held back outside this fortress. While the two sides were locked in a stalemate, Bai Xiaochun had completed his mission of clearing out the remaining remnants of the Zhuangzi sect. Bai Xiaochun's greatest gain, along with that of the hundreds of cultivators beside him, was that everyone's storage bags were overflowing with cultivation resources. Almost every one of these hundreds of people naturally exuded an aura of immense wealth and imposing presence. They were now all stopped before a plane. Crossing it would officially put them on the front line. At this moment, the earth was shaking with the roar of spales, and even from a distance from the battlefield, the ground trembled. The wind blowing from all directions carried a faint scent of blood and corpses still lay scattered across the vast plain. Bai Xiaochun was extremely sensitive to danger. He sensed that stepping onto this plane would undoubtedly put him in extreme peril. This feeling put considerable pressure on him, especially when he saw the distorted sky in the distance. This reminded him of the times in the Luochun mountain range, the Steel Sword Abyss, and the Blood Sun Trial. Here, there were no longer any cultivation families nominally pledging allegiance, and he occasionally saw small teams of Bloodstream sect cultivators of varying numbers. Not only was Bai Xiaochun wary, but so were the cultivators beside him, especially the three of them, including Bei Hanli, who had been on the front lines before and understood the ferocity of this place even better. On this front line, carelessness could easily lead to getting lost. After all, this was a sectarian war. It was a matter of life or death. Facing this moment, Bai Xiaochun had two choices. One was to turn back, and the other was to enter the front line and fight against the Zhuangzi sect cultivators. What should we do next? Cough, cough. Maybe we should go back. Bai Xiaochun quickly coughed, feeling that it was best to turn back. What if by chance we lose our lives here? That wouldn't be good. So he glanced around and slowly opened his mouth. But before he could finish speaking, his heart suddenly leapt. He realized that the surrounding cultivators were radiating killing intent, eager to rush to the front lines and slaughter. Perhaps we should turn back, Bai Xiaoqun glared, and as soon as he spoke, everyone around him turned their eyes to him. They were all astonished, unable to believe that those words had come from Bai Xiaoqun. Bai Hanli frowned, and Shen, Swansea, and Gulai were both stunned. Bai Xiaoqun's heart leapt again, filled with immense regret. Even so, his expression remained unchanged, and he arrogantly smiled, his aura erupting with a fierce will as he said, "Turning back is impossible. Since we've come this far, how can we be afraid of death? We must go to the front lines and fight a battle against the Zhuangzi sect." As Bai Xiaoqun's laughter rang out, the hundreds of cultivators were filled with excitement and murderous intent. "From today onwards, we must make this battlefield remember us." Bai Xiaoqun threw his head back and laughed loudly, taking a majestic step forward, officially entering the plain. Bai Hanli's heart trembled. He took a deep breath and laughed heartily as he followed Bai Xiaoqun. On the other side, Shen, Swansea, and Gulai had no more doubts. In their eyes, this was the true blood son of the night burial, a ruthless killer who didn't hesitate to murder. And at that moment, hundreds of cultivators also rushed into the front lines within the plain. Bai Xiaoqun was surrounded, his imposing presence outwardly masking a heart-wrenching despair. He was the one most unwilling to enter the front lines, but it seemed there was no other way. Stepping onto the plain, Bai Xiaoqun was terrified, his body trembling uncontrollably. Several days had passed since they entered the front lines, and during this time, Bai Xiaoqun had been incredibly anxious and worried. Any slight movement would make him jump. Thankfully, he hadn't encountered the Zhuangzi sect yet. Just as Bai Xiaoqun was starting to feel a little relieved, dozens of rainbow-colored streaks suddenly shot towards them from afar. They were originally intended to fly past Bai Xiaoqun and his group, but after realizing they weren't their people, the Zhuangzi sect cultivators' expressions changed. No one retreated. Instead, they all displayed a determined, death-defying demeanor, their eyes blazing with anger and hatred as they charged forward. "We'll fight to the death against the people of the Spirit Blood sect. Kill!" More than 10 people, including 7 or 8 Foundation establishment cultivators, attacked directly. Bai Xiaoqun was even more frightened, but before he could speak, everyone around him immediately took action. Dozens of light spheres were thrown straight at the cultivators of Zhuangzi sect, exploding upon impact. Following the explosions, the more than 10 Zhuangzi sect cultivators looked bewildered. Some roared wildly, others experienced hallucinations, and some clutched their stomachs. While they were in chaos, hundreds of cultivators on Bai Xiaoqun's side, their eyes shining brightly, grinned and charged straight in. Explosions echoed wherever they went. The entire process took less than half an incense stick's time. As soon as it was over, Bai Xiaoqun watched the cultivators he had brought with him looting the storage bags, handing everything over to him. He felt that these people had truly become ferocious beasts. That's right, this is the style of a cultivator. "We must turn this place into our rear base, sweep everything aside, and show off the might of the heavenly craftsman continent." Bai Xiaoqun accepted the spoils of war, his spirits lifted, and everyone was excited, continuing to shout and fly further away. Soon, half a month had passed. During this half-month, Bai Xiaoqun encountered many groups of cultivators from the Zhuangzi sect, ranging from dozens to hundreds. Each time they met, the opponents were ferocious, but after encountering the light sphere tactic, they all collapsed. This made things go smoothly for Bai Xiaoqun and his group. He was no longer stressed and now used the time to replenish the light spheres for everyone. The more they did this, the more formidable their fighting power became. Even 3 days ago, they encountered a group of over 300 cultivators, and although they all charged in to kill them, Bai Xiaoqun's group still won easily. Under the influence of those light spheres, not many cultivators could resist their effects. Even in the past half-month, both the Blood Spirit sect and the Zhuangzi sect in this area had noticed unusual activity, but they couldn't afford to investigate. Bai Xiaoqun felt too comfortable. At this moment, he was lying on the blood sword, surrounded by people. Wherever he went, there were constant shouts echoing. "Blood Peak's blood sun, boundless power, the spirit chi heavenly vein, his might shakes the 8 directions." One day, amidst the shouts, a rainbow streaked rapidly towards them from afar. Inside the rainbow was a pale-faced young man holding many talismans, his face pale and spitting out fresh blood, looking extremely distressed. If he hadn't been constantly throwing talismans behind him, he would have been caught by the crowd. Behind him, more than 200 cultivators were shouting in pursuit. Especially among these more than 200 people, there was a young man who, although only at the mid-stage of Foundation establishment, exuded a killing intent even heavier than that of the late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator beside him. Upon clearly seeing this person, Bai Xiaochun's eyes narrowed sharply. 9 islands! Bai Xiaochun's eyes flashed as he looked towards the person being chased and killed. He recognized the struggling cultivator as Su Xiaoshan. Although still far away, Su Xiaoshan could see Bai Xiaochun and his group. While not entirely clear, thanks to the enormous blood sword and the unique blood aura of the bloodstream sect cultivators, he desperately rushed towards them. Bai Xiaochun! After clearly seeing Bai Xiaochun, Su Xiaoshan's eyes welled up with tears as he desperately shouted for help. At that moment, Jiu Dao also saw Bai Xiaochun, his eyes narrowing with intense joy. Bai Xiaochun, you're here again. I thought I could only capture Su Xiaoshan today, but I didn't expect to meet you, Bai Xiaochun. You will definitely die today. Jiu Dao laughed loudly. This time he had brought over 200 cultivators. If he encountered the elite of the spirit blood sects, he would surely be no match. But it seemed that Bai Xiaochun's group was far inferior, even appearing somewhat lazy. Except for the 3 North Koreans, everyone else was clearly unknown. Facing such a group of people, he was confident he could kill them all. At this moment, he chased after Su Xiaoshan straight to Bai Xiaochun's location. Behind him were over 200 cultivators, many of whom recognized Bai Xiaochun. Their minds were shaken, their killing intent erupting as they charged forward. Clearly, they all knew that this massacre was the result of the combined efforts of the 2 blood spirit sects, and the key to this alliance was Bai Xiaochun. Su Xiaoshan hesitated, but there was no other way. If he didn't reach Bai Xiaochun, he would die immediately. He knew Bai Xiaochun's importance and felt a little regretful at this moment. While he was confused and didn't know what to do, he suddenly saw Bai Xiaochun's calm and indifferent demeanor. Not only that, the hundreds of cultivators beside Bai Xiaochun were also calm and indifferent, even showing clear contempt and mockery in their eyes as they looked towards the 9 islands. Su Xiaoshan was somewhat dazed. Xiaoshan, don't be afraid, this blood lord is here to save you. Bai Xiaochun clasped his hands behind his back, his face arrogant. Looking at everyone rushing towards him, he coughed, and with a flick of his sleeve, hundreds of light spheres suddenly appeared in the hands of the cultivators behind him, leaving Su Xiaoshan wide-eyed and speechless. Release, Bai Xiaochun shouted. The cultivators beside him also roared fiercely, throwing hundreds of light spheres out. These light spheres tore through the sky, screaming straight towards the 9 Islands group. The 9 Islands group was stunned, and the people behind him hesitated slightly. Many tried to stop them, but when they hit the light spheres, all their magic was ineffective. In an instant, countless explosions rang out, and thick fog enveloped the area around the 9 Islands group. Even with the naked eye, one could see the fog dissipating, but along with it, strange and rare cries continued to emanate from within. My stomach, oh my god, I become an immortal, don't come here. What place is this? Hearing the sounds from the fog, Su Xiaoshan's face changed drastically as he cried out. The plague of the dead. His body trembled uncontrollably, and he shouted, using all his strength to move away from the fog. The difference between someone who had experienced it and someone who had only seen it was like day and night. Even now, remembering that experience from years ago, he considered it a lifelong nightmare he could never forget. Just seeing the fog had terrified Su Xiaoshan to the extreme. As soon as he ran away, more than half of the fog had dissipated, revealing over 200 cultivators from the Zhuangxi sect. At this moment, bizarre figures appeared one after another. Some had their arms outstretched with expressions of ecstasy, while others had ashen faces and emitted a foul stench. There were even figures clearly embracing each other intimately. The light surrounding Jiu Dao's trembling body twisted as if about to shatter. His eyes showed disbelief as he looked around. This is what kind of divine power is this? How can there be such a terrifying technique? Jiu Dao trembled, his heart filled with unprecedented fear of Bai Xiaochun. This image, combined with the scene in the abyssal sword, intensified the terror, causing him to take out a jade pendant and squeeze it hard. The 7-colored jade pendant was clearly no ordinary object. Now it shattered under the pressure, releasing a teleportation force that enveloped Jiu Dao. Bai Xiaochun's eyes narrowed. He knew that a jade pendant capable of teleporting Foundation establishment cultivators was extremely precious to the sect. Seeing Ju Dao about to escape, Bai Xiaochun used his heaven-penetrating Dharma Eye to directly target the place where Ju Dao was being teleported. Boom! Bai Xiaochun's gaze and Ju Dao's met in an instant. Ju Dao let out a mournful cry. His body was still being teleported away, but one arm fell off. Because Bai Xiaochun's current teleportation power had reached a level where he could forcibly separate them. The moment Ju Dao disappeared, hundreds of cultivators behind Bai Xiaochun unleashed their full power, charging straight at the Zhuangzi sect cultivators who were severely affected by the fog. I remember you now. You're the one who attacked me before. Bei Hanli stared at a cultivator clutching his stomach, his whole body reeking of foul stench, and charged forward. Gulaya and Shen Swansea also charged forward with killing intent. The others did the same, coordinating with each other to minimize their own casualties. For those around Bai Xiaochun, this kind of slaughter was second nature and easy to do. Before long, this small-scale battle ended. Not being able to capture Ju Dao caused Bai Xiaochun some regret. But for Su Sheshan, this scene completely shocked him. He stared wide-eyed at the disciples of the two sects coordinating their attacks across the battlefield. Even Bei Hanli and Shen Swansea were clearly assisting each other, leaving him in disbelief. How is this possible? Su Sheshan rubbed his eyes. This coordination, the methods of killing enemies, and the poisonous smoke his mind was in turmoil. After half an hour, everyone cleaned up the battlefield and continued on their way. Su Sheshan followed behind Bai Xiaochun, his face full of flattery and constant obsequious flattery. Blood Burial Master, young ancestor Bai Xiaochun, Uncle Bai, I saw everyone using those light spheres just now. Can you give me a few? Bai Xiaochun said with a smug expression. Seeing everyone in this battle displaying such incredible fighting power, he felt a great sense of accomplishment. This is all thanks to me, Bai Xiaochun sighed. His eyes darted around, glancing at Su Sheshan. Then he took a deep breath and threw him a few light spheres. Take them and play with them. After carefully receiving them, Su Sheshan was extremely excited, wishing he could meet the cultivators of the Zhuangzi sect sooner to personally show them the power of the demonic smoke. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. This battle had dragged on for over half a year. Although the stalemate hadn't been broken, the cultivators from both sides were engaged in incredibly brutal fighting around the strategic pass within the Heavenly Craftsman continent. During this fierce battle, Bai Xiaochun's reputation spread even further. He achieved victory wherever he went, and the cultivators on the front lines of the Zhuangzi sect trembled at the mere mention of Wen Mo's name. The prestige of the three, including Bei Hanli, far surpassed their former selves. Especially Su Sheshan, who arrived later but surpassed them all, completely captivated by Bai Xiaochun's light spheres. Each time he attacked, he unleashed a barrage of light spheres, particularly those that produced poisonous smoke to enchant. Even the Zhuangzi sect's ancestors guarding the strategic passes were furious upon hearing the news, but were powerless to intervene. Even the Supreme Elders and inherited cultivators couldn't break through due to the threat posed by the two spirit blood sects. The battle was drawing to a close, a decisive fight to determine victory. And at this final stage of preparation, Bai Xiaochun's reputation grew even greater. Relying solely on poisonous smoke spheres and a few hundred frenzied killers, Bai Xiaochun's team gradually annihilated the Zhuangzi sect's forces, influencing the final outcome. This left the patriarchs of both sides speechless. The sky was hazy, not bright and sunny, but that didn't affect Bai Xiaochun's cheerful mood. He was overflowing with excitement, proudly sitting cross-legged on the blood-colored greatsword, his right hand raised, enthusiastically pointing forward. "Attack for me," Bai Xiaochun arrogantly declared. He felt incredibly powerful, like he was back in the Fallen Sword Abyss years ago, when he led the people of Lingxi sect to plunder. "I miss it so much," Bai Xiaochun sighed, remembering the time in the Fallen Sword Abyss, when every Lingxi sect disciple who followed him ended up entering the Fallen Sword, while he was stopped. "Bad omen, things are different now. Today, I have hundreds of powerful great cultivators by my side, as fierce as wolves and tigers." Bai Xiaochun became wary, looking around at everyone, especially Su Sheshan, who looked as if he wanted to be covered in poisonous smoke spheres. His arrogant demeanor greatly amused Bai Xiaochun. North Han Lai has also changed. He looks normal, but in reality, he's learned the art of subtly smiling and bowing his head while throwing poisonous smoke. As for Gulai and Shen Swansea, being bloodstream sect cultivators, they were already dark-skinned. And over the past few months, they've become even darker. If these four are like this, what about the others? The whole group has become similar to Bai Xiaochun, usually joking around and occasionally showing fear of death. But once they act, they first throw poisonous gas, then brazenly charge in and kill. Bai Xiaochun looked at them, feeling even more moved. Under my guidance, these brothers have finally understood that in a cultivator's life, life is precious. As long as one's life is still intact, everything is possible. Bai Xiaochun sighed, patted his storage bag with his right hand, took out the little turtle, and habitually shook it a few times. For the past few months, he had taken it out and shaken it almost every day. The sound of the turtle's head, tail, and limbs hitting its shell was very pleasant to Bai Xiaochun's ears. Especially after shaking it, a fragrant aroma occasionally wafted out, drawing in a surge of spiritual energy, rapidly increasing Bai Xiaochun's cultivation speed. Hundreds of people nearby also benefited considerably. This damn turtle at least has some use. Bai Xiaochun looked at the little turtle in his hand, at its head and limbs stretched out, at its short tail, and shook it a few more times. He noticed something strange. The banging sounds seemed to lessen, and the turtle's head and limbs became stiff. Ah, Bai Xiaochun exclaimed in surprise, shaking it even harder. After half an incense stick's time, the little turtle finally softened back to its original state, and the familiar banging sound returned. Bai Xiaochun felt satisfied and decided to end his day of cultivation. The next day at noon, a group of hundreds of people continued flying through the air. This area was too vast, and Bai Xiaochun and his group were too famous, so for many days they hadn't encountered a single cultivator from the Zhuangxi sect. Bai Xiaochun, bored, overheard Su Xiaoxin and Bei Hanli boasting about their achievements, so he deliberately interrupted. The two glanced at him, then ignored him, not bothering to pay attention. Bai Xiaochun lost interest, snorted, and thought he'd have to reduce the number of poisonous energy spheres they used by 70% in the future. He boredly pulled out the little turtle and shook it, but after just one shake, he frowned. What's that? Why is the shaking so strange? Bai Xiaochun looked at the little turtle, grabbing its four legs, and found them stiff again. This black turtle has been dead for who knows how many years. How pitiful. Its body has become stiff today. Bai Xiaochun thought he definitely had to help it in some way. After all, it had helped him cultivate for half a year. So, he grabbed the turtle's shell and shook it vigorously. After only a few breaths, a fragrant aroma filled the air, drawing in the surrounding heaven and earth's spiritual energy. But Bai Xiaochun wasn't finished yet. He continued shaking. He was very stubborn, determined to make the little turtle's stiff body soft again. This process dragged on for 3 incense sticks worth of time. Only when the little turtle finally softened did Bai Xiaochun smile with satisfaction, looking at the little turtle with a sigh. If you have a spirit in heaven, you don't need to thank me. I will help you always maintain a soft and supple body, ensuring your body never rots. Before Bai Xiaochun could finish speaking, his eyes suddenly widened. The little turtle suddenly opened its eyes, which seemed to contain countless swirling rings filled with hatred and madness. It raised its head and bit fiercely into Bai Xiaochun's hand. Bai Xiaochun was even more frightened, quickly letting go to avoid the little turtle's bite. This bite was full of hatred, very strong, and the loud cracking sound was audible even to the surrounding cultivators. Bai Xiaochun was terrified. If that bite had landed, his finger bones would surely have been broken. Even with his heavenly demon body, he probably wouldn't have been able to withstand it. You're still alive, weren't you dead? Bai Xiaochun retreated quickly, unable to believe it. He had studied the little turtle for a long time and was absolutely certain there were no signs of life. It was basically a corpse. How could it be alive now? You're the dead one. Your whole family is dead. Your whole sect is dead. The whole Bai clan is dead. You bastard, I hate you. The little turtle staggered up, hovering in front of Bai Xiaochun, its limbs trembling, its eyes bloodshot, and it roared furiously at Bai Xiaochun. Its roar echoed in all directions, leaving hundreds of cultivators from both sects stunned and bewildered, staring blankly at the little turtle. As far as they could remember, for the past few months, Bai Xiaochun had been shaking this little turtle, drawing in dense spiritual energy to aid everyone's cultivation. But now, the little turtle is clearly still alive. Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath, about to speak, when the little turtle's eyes welled up with tears, its voice filled with frenzied rage as it roared. You turtle lord! You should have woken up 5 months ago, but you keep shaking me every day. Sometimes more than 1,000 times. It's infuriating. You're not tired, but you just woke up and then vomited and fell unconscious again. The little turtle trembled all over, its anger soaring, shaking so violently it looked like it was about to burst into flames. I didn't mean to. I thought you were dead. If you weren't dead, you should have told me sooner. Besides, you smell so fragrant. Bai Xiaochun, embarrassed, quickly explained. You dare to talk about the fragrant scent. Ah, that's the spiritual energy your turtle family has accumulated for so many years, and you've dragged out so much of it. Oh, my accumulated energy. Over 100,000 years of accumulation. I hate you. I'll never forgive you. Little black turtle roared, instantly lunging forward to bite Bai Xiaochun. I'll bite you to death. Bai Xiaochun dodged quickly, but little black turtle immediately chased after him, the sound of biting echoing incessantly, leaving Su Xiaoshan, Bei Hanli, and the other 4, and hundreds of cultivators, all gaping in astonishment. Enough! Bai Xiaochun was terrified, narrowly avoiding being bitten several times. He was furious, turned around, unleashed his killing intent, and shouted, Not enough, damn it! Turtle family hates you so much we want to slap you to the wall. I can't stand it anymore. Bai Xiaochun was stunned, vaguely feeling that little black turtle's words were not normal. He quickly retreated, speaking urgently. Listen to my explanation. As soon as Bai Xiaochun finished speaking, the little turtle glanced at him disdainfully. Don't talk to me anymore. I like cleanliness. How likes cleanliness? Bai Xiaochun was stunned again, and everyone around was also confused. Those quick-witted immediately changed their expressions, looking at the little turtle with awe. To dare to say such a profound statement without a single vulgar word, this level of understanding far surpassed Bai Xiaochun and the others. You. Bai Xiaochun thought for a moment and then realized, extremely angry, feeling that this little turtle was too ill-mannered. Every word it said was an insult. Especially the last sentence, daring to say that he liked cleanliness, clearly meant to humiliate him. Bai Xiaochun was furious and was about to scold when the little turtle suddenly sighed, looking at him sympathetically. There are some people, you know, they only realize they're being insulted when someone points a finger at them to their face. If the words are a little subtle, they have to think for a long time before they understand. Bai Xiaochun heard this and felt like he was about to explode, roaring, Such a sharp tongue, you arrogant fool! You damned black turtle, you! Bai Xiaochun was furious, but the sympathy in the little turtle's eyes deepened. It sighed again, and gently added another sentence. Have you finished introducing yourself? That one sentence, like Mount Tai crashing down, like a bolt of lightning from a clear sky, made Bai Xiaochun tremble. The words he was about to say shattering. He suddenly understood that when it came to insulting someone, the difference between him and this little turtle was like heaven and earth, like a mortal and a cultivator. The gap in cultivation levels was too great. It wasn't just Bai Xiaochun who felt this way. All the surrounding cultivators also took a deep breath. They had never seen such a sharp tongue before. Su Xiaoshan's eyes widened to their fullest extent, looking at the little turtle as if it were a god. Bei Hanli was also like that. This was the first time he had seen Bai Xiaochun so frustrated. Gulai was overjoyed, and Shen Xuanzi, while outwardly startled, was inwardly brimming with excitement. But everyone made up their minds. They would never speak to the little turtle again. Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath, raised his right hand, and a surge of blood energy burst forth, shooting straight at the little turtle. But just as the blood energy approached, the little turtle retracted into its shell. With a loud bang, the blood energy struck the shell and dissipated, leaving the shell completely unharmed, perfectly intact. The little turtle's mournful voice echoed from within its shell. Your stomach is full of fire energy. If you don't vent it, you'll definitely be burned to death. Stupid Bai, listen to Master Turtle's advice. Go make a glass wall. This isn't good for your health. Bai Xiaochun was stunned. This time, he truly didn't understand what the turtle meant, but he knew without a doubt it wasn't anything good. Hearing someone scold him without understanding the meaning made Bai Xiaochun even more furious. He involuntarily recalled the little turtle's earlier insults, the ones directed at his face. I'll refine you. Bai Xiaochun went berserk with anger, pulled out his alchemy furnace, threw the little turtle into it, his eyes blazing red, took out the earth fire stone, and began refining the turtle as if he were refining medicine. Everyone looked at Bai Xiaochun's frenzied behavior with strange expressions. No one dared to say a word, and they all scrambled back, keeping a distance of hundreds of meters before feeling somewhat relieved. For several days, Bai Xiaochun occasionally roared, his hair disheveled, his body emaciated. But unfortunately, no matter how hard he refined, he couldn't refine the little turtle. Moreover, the little turtle in the furnace would occasionally utter words that made people want to butcher it. Are you refining a pill? With such meager firepower, you dare to think you can refine your turtle, Lord? Little fool, go cultivate for another 10,000 years. Oh, not bad, not bad. Knowing that the turtle lord is hungry, you threw in some spirit herbs. Keep trying, Bai, you fool. I have high hopes for you. Add more fire. Haven't you eaten yet? Hurry up, turtle is getting cold. I want more fire, more fire. Bai Xiaochun was completely insane. For the past few days, he felt like he was dying, desperately wanting to throw this little turtle away. But remembering that it was a treasure, something he had obtained after so much hardship, he couldn't bear to part with it. But continuing like this wasn't the solution either. He was extremely distressed. 2 days later, he suddenly noticed that the little turtle in the furnace wasn't making any sound anymore. Huh? Bai Xiaochun was stunned, and everyone around him was also surprised. They had become accustomed to hearing the little turtle's voice over the past few days, and now that they didn't hear it anymore, it felt strange. Bai Xiaochun was suspicious. Another day passed, and he still didn't hear the little turtle speak. Curious, he reduced the earth fire, opened the alchemy furnace, and looked inside. It was empty. Or rather, not completely empty. There was still some excrement. The little turtle was completely gone. He didn't know how it had escaped. Even Bai Xiaochun didn't know. Bai Xiaochun's face turned grim. Looking at the excrement, a strong urge to throw the little turtle against the wall arose in his heart. Humph, it's good that it escaped. Consider it as if I never picked you up. Bai Xiaochun gritted his teeth, put away the alchemy furnace, and sat cross-legged on his great sword. Only then did everyone dare to approach. Time passed, 5 days went by, and Bai Xiaochun finally escaped the haunting thoughts of the little turtle. He no longer bothered to think about it, although he still felt regretful. Thinking about its maddening voice, Bai Xiaochun felt that this was also a good thing for him. His spirits lifted, and he was about to lead everyone on their way when suddenly, from the distant horizon, a burst of yellow light erupted. At the same time, a surge of energy from the Tangshan River swept in, dispelling the blood mist in the sky. The white sun of the Lingxi sect also distorted, and the black crow inside trembled. The scarecrow of the Bloodsy sect trembled just as much. The ancestors of the 3 sects were all terrified. That is, in front of the golden light, a rainbow was hurtling towards Bai Xiaochun. The figure within the rainbow was indistinct, but its voice echoed in all directions. Damn it, you short-haired beast! The last time Master Gui slapped, you were just an egg, and the time before that, your father was also just an egg. This voice startled Bai Xiaochun and everyone around him, because it was the voice of that damned little black turtle. By this time, he had also seen an extremely large crocodile inside the golden light. This giant crocodile was tens of thousands of feet long, its entire body shining with golden light, its aura indescribably powerful. It roared, shaking Bai Xiaochun. Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath. He recognized this crocodile. Back when he was still in the Cha condensation stage, he had seen it from afar and knew it was a terrifying existence in the Tangshan River. Before Bai Xiaochun could react, the little turtle flew over, burrowed into its shell, and with a thud, disappeared into Bai Xiaochun's storage bag. Ah! Bai Xiaochun gaped, looking up to see the crocodile staring at him, its eyes seemingly understanding. Ah, so this Bai Xiaochun was the owner of that damned little turtle. The crocodile roared fiercely. Senior Golden Crocodile, it wasn't me. I am not its owner. I really wasn't. Bai Xiaochun shouted, wanting to throw the little turtle out, but after searching through his storage bag, he couldn't find it. Without time to think, seeing the terrifying crocodile approaching, he used his fastest speed, flapping his wings vigorously, and instantly flew away into the distance. Little turtle deserves to be killed 1,000 times over. I hate you. Bai Xiaochun was on the verge of tears, crying out mournfully. Hundreds of cultivators around him scattered, watching Bai Xiaochun with horror and sympathy. Bai Xiaochun wanted to cry. Using all his strength, he ran desperately. His speed was incredibly fast. In the blink of an eye, his figure was gone, only a rainbow streaking into the distance. It really wasn't me. Bai Xiaochun cried out in despair, but the golden crocodile behind him was even faster, closing in an instant, causing the space around Bai Xiaochun to turn golden. Senior Jin, please listen to me. I also hate that damned black turtle. We are not enemies, we have a common enemy, that wretched little black turtle. Bai Xiaochun trembled as he spoke. The golden crocodile was silent for a few seconds, then roared again. The deafening roar almost deafened Bai Xiaochun, and he quickly fled. He hadn't run far when the golden crocodile opened its mouth wide, and an indescribable stench assaulted Bai Xiaochun. He looked up in shock, letting out a mournful scream. Compared to the crocodile, Bai Xiaochun was like a tiny insect right in its mouth. The golden crocodile closed its mouth, intending to swallow Bai Xiaochun, but Bai Xiaochun quickly deployed the mountain-shattering charge and rushed out. Bai Xiaochun was extremely distressed, tears welling up in his eyes. He really regretted not being able to retrieve the black turtle from his storage bag. Otherwise, he would have definitely thrown it into the crocodile's mouth. We're really not enemies, are we? That's right. I also fused with the water of the Tongshan River. Look. I also have the aura of the Tongshan River on me. Bai Xiaochun quickly released the aura of the purple Che Tongshan technique, intending to let the crocodile know that he and it were one family. Perhaps the aura of the Tongshan River also had an effect. The crocodile's eyes showed a strange expression, and it paused. Thanks to this, Bai Xiaochun desperately ran away again, his face full of sorrow, panting heavily. But he hadn't run far before the crocodile opened its mouth again. The fell wind blew again, and Bai Xiaochun cried out in agony, opening his third eye. His Tongshan Dharma eye, unleashed to its limit, stared directly at the golden crocodile. This sight astonished him, for what he saw wasn't the crocodile but a transformed expanse of the Tongshan River, its surface rippling. But in an instant, the image changed, no longer the Tongshan River, but the golden crocodile. Bai Xiaochun didn't have time to think further and fled. The crocodile closed its mouth, and a gust of wind from behind pushed him, causing him to stagger. Time passed, an hour went by, and the golden crocodile, for reasons unknown, continued its relentless pursuit, its killing intent gone. Occasionally, it would open its mouth, terrifying Bai Xiaochun and making him break out in a cold sweat. Bai Xiaochun also realized that the opponent no longer had any killing intent, but seemed to be playing with him, because each time it closed its mouth, a whirlwind would circle around him and move away. Although the opponent had no killing intent, if he dodged slowly, he would still be bitten. Bai Xiaochun felt extremely wronged. He felt that this crocodile was too childish. A giant monster like that was playing around with him, and if he wasn't careful, his life would be over. Stop playing around, Bai Xiaochun said sadly. He was really afraid of being killed by its playfulness. The crocodile opened its mouth, and this time, a stream of water spurted out from its throat, throwing Bai Xiaochun away. This wasn't ordinary water, but the water of the Tongshan River. Bai Xiaochun wasn't afraid of the Tongshan River water, but his clothes were all torn apart. Fortunately, his storage bag was made of a different material, which saved them. He cried out in pain, hastily taking out another garment to change into. No sooner had he changed than another stream of water struck. Bai Xiaochun cried out miserably. The potential within him was constantly being pressured and began to surge, most noticeably the purple Che through heaven technique, which was circulating extremely rapidly, continuously absorbing the water from the through heaven river. The seventh layer of his spiritual sea also began to transform into a refined essence. This chase lasted a day, Bai Xiaochun running at his absolute speed, finally reaching the battlefield of the three sects' decisive battle. By early morning on the second day, from afar, Bai Xiaochun saw the magnificent city of the Zhuangxi sect. The armies of the two spirit blood sects were attacking the city. The sky roared, the earth trembled, spales vibrated, and dazzling multicolored lights spread in all directions. The golden crocodile stopped chasing. Its appearance had caused a stir throughout the battlefield. The ancestors of the three sects, who were fighting in the air, were stunned, staring at it, and also at Bai Xiaochun. The cold, golden crocodile swept its gaze around, showing no interest whatsoever, then lowered its head to scrutinize Bai Xiaochun for a while longer before turning and disappearing in a flash. Seeing it leave, Bai Xiaochun was so agitated that tears welled up in his eyes. The past day had been incredibly miserable for him, being toyed with by the other party. He took a deep breath, hating the little black turtle, hating the crocodile, and feeling utterly miserable looking at himself. Oh! Bai Xiaochun was startled when he looked at himself, discovering that the immortal longevity technique seemed to have improved considerably. The purple Che through heaven technique had significantly enhanced, and the 7th level of the spirit sea had clearly reached more than half of its transformation into a spirit. These things comforted him, and he sighed, raising his head to look at the battlefield. On the battlefield, the Zhuangzi sect, relying on the mighty city, was fiercely counterattacking. A huge puppet in green armor, controlled by a Zhuangzi sect cultivator, was wielding its weapon in battle. The giant formation of the Lingxi sect also joined the battle, a group of giants of varying sizes, each strike causing the ground to tremble. The Bloodstream sect purely employed a brute force tactic, a massive sphere of people flying out and crashing into the green-armored puppets of the Zhuangzi sect, then transforming into a huge blood-red whirlwind, emitting blood energy. These spheres of people continuously shot out, falling to the ground and turning into blood-red whirlwinds. In the air, the inheritance lists and supreme elders of the various factions fought chaotically, while higher up, the ancestors of the 3 great sects were also busy battling each other. The entire sky shaking. Above the majestic city of the Zhuangzi sect, a powerful formation enveloped it, surrounded by numerous protective formations, with countless large swords floating in the sky and on the ground. Each large sword held a disciple, the swords filling the 8 directions, forming an enormous sword formation. If dozens or even hundreds of large swords were to attack simultaneously, even the supreme elders would be terrified. In midair, there were also several golden armored puppets with astonishing strength, no less powerful than the inheritance and blood soul. Although their number wasn't large, each one was powerful and outstanding. From afar, the battlefield stretched endlessly with hundreds of thousands of cultivators fighting each other, each on the brink of life and death. Overall, it was clear that the Zhuangzi sect was at a disadvantage, constantly retreating. If it weren't for the city's formations, they would have long since been annihilated. But what shocked Bai Xiaochun the most was that within the formations on the mighty city, there were Dangxi sect cultivators sitting there with deathly expressions, using their cultivation to help the grand formations operate. More than half of the Dangxi sect cultivators had been enslaved by the Zhuangzi sect, originally intended for fusion, but the war broke out, leaving them no time to fuse. And they couldn't release these people either, so they turned them into human-shaped spirit stones to power the formations. Bai Xiaochun shuddered. There was no wind, only the pungent smell of blood filling the air. Bai Xiaochun's breathing quickened. He even felt a little nauseated by the bloody stench. His face turned slightly pale. Although he had also been involved in killing, this was his first time facing a war of this scale, and his heart felt as if it were split in two. One part was screaming to escape quickly, saying it was too dangerous and that he had to be careful of his surroundings. But his friends were fighting fiercely, making Bai Xiaochun want to jump in and join the battle. Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath. He knew his position. There were too many of his friends on this battlefield, he couldn't leave. Bai Xiaochun trembled, but resolutely charged forward at an extremely fast speed. Initially, no one noticed his arrival, but Tai Dan, who was fighting a giant beast from the Zhuangzi sect, was startled and let out a loud cry. The roars were filled with joy. All the battle beasts of the Lingxi sect on the battlefield roared in unison, while the cultivators of the Bloodstream sect realized their cultivation and combat power were gradually increasing. Their strength and destructive power had both increased significantly compared to before, astonishing everyone, but also filling them with immense excitement. In one spot on the battlefield, a Check-condensing disciple of the Lingxi sect and a Check-condensing disciple of the Bloodstream sect were desperately retreating, while several cultivators of the Zhuangzi sect were relentlessly pursuing them. The two exchanged a bitter smile. Through their shared battles, they had come to regard each other as friends, now sharing the impending death. I didn't like you two before, but if there's a next life, I hope we can continue to fight together. Haha, it's settled. The two, originally from different squads, gradually faced each other as their comrades died in battle, forcing them to gather together, intending to fight to the death. Suddenly, a figure darted forward, blocking their path. Before the four cultivators of the Zhuangzi sect could react, a flash of blood-red light appeared. The four men recoiled violently, their eyes wide, and four severed heads flew into the air. Bai Xiaoqun had arrived. The two cultivators he had rescued were stunned. After recognizing him, they both exclaimed in shock, "Lord Blood's son, Uncle Bai." Bai Xiaoqun glanced at them, nodded slightly, and instantly darted to another spot. No one could stop him in his path. During this fierce battle, Bai Xiaoqun discovered that his immortal longevity technique had become incredibly powerful, not only making his physical strength extremely strong, but also increasing his defensive capabilities to an astonishing level. Even when attacked by many at once, he felt little pain, while his attacks, especially the throat-shattering lock, always killed his enemies instantly. When surrounded by many cultivators, Bai Xiaoqun would often unleash the mountain-shattering charge. His body like a raging beast, anyone struck by him would have their bones shattered and their bodies torn apart. No one could stop him. This immortal longevity technique, it turns out, is a technique for group battles. Bai Xiaoqun took a deep breath, retracting all his techniques, relying only on his physical strength. He thrust straight into a foundation establishment cultivator from the Zhuangzi sect, causing the opponent to spit blood. He then turned and punched out, engaging the sneak attacker from behind. The sneak attacker screamed in agony as if possessed, his arm exploding and being flung backward. Bai Xiaoqun formed a hand seal, and with a single gesture, a blood-red light flashed from his fingertips, transforming into a blood sword that pierced through the attacker. He continued to use his body to pave the way, relying on his immense physical strength to traverse the battlefield like a fish in water. Wherever he went, the Bloodstream sect cultivators there all had their cultivation and combat power increased, causing the sounds of fighting and killing in that small area to erupt again. Bai Xiaoqun quickly penetrated deep into the battlefield, reaching the giant formation of the Xiangyan Mountain cultivators. This giant was one of the avatars of the 9 great formations of the Seed Dao Mountain, and Bai Xiaoqun should have been inside it, controlling it. Because he wasn't, the giant's combat power was diminished, weaker than the 8 giants of the 8 similar formations, and it was currently battling a black-armored puppet. The puppets on the battlefield were divided into 3 colors: blue, black, and yellow. Blue was the most numerous, black was not so much, and yellow was the least. This black puppet was hundreds of feet tall, vaguely carrying a hint of yellow. Its combat power was far stronger than that of ordinary black-armored puppets. The black-armored puppet, wielding a sword, charged forward, piercing the giant formation. The giant formation twisted and contorted, and those inside could be seen spitting blood. Everyone was frantic, but there was nothing they could do but watch helplessly as the great sword continued to slash. The Lingxi Sex formation avatars are renowned throughout the world, especially the 9 formations of the Seed Dao Mountain, which are the most outstanding. But today's battle has truly disappointed me. A contemptuous voice emanated from within the black, armored puppet. The great sword swung, and the giant formation nearly shattered. Those inside laughed bitterly. With Bai Xiaoqun absent, they were like snakes without heads. They couldn't unleash the various transformations of the giants, and now that the giant avatars were about to break, they were also about to die. But a cold snort echoed from afar. Split formation. A seal shot out, imprinted on the formation avatars, and everyone saw a figure flying towards them. With a loud bang, the giants vanished, and 8 people flew towards Bai Xiaoqun. Combined formations. Bai Xiaoqun roared, his hands forming a hand seal. 9 people simultaneously formed a hand seal, and a new giant formation appeared. This giant was much larger than the previous one, its body not vague but very solid and substantial. Its face the face of Bai Xiaoqun. After appearing, the giant's eyes opened, revealing Bai Xiaoqun's gaze fierce and sharp as a blade. "You want to see the power of my 9 formations of the Dao Seed Mountain? Let me grant your wish." Bai Xiaoqun took a step forward, and the ground exploded. The black-armored puppet saw this, and its fighting spirit flared up. "Bai Xiaoqun,